You can use a dark gray or black, really any color background that you choose, but I'll be using the black. Brushes, of course, to put the paint on. Even mangled brushes work. I've got some tree stamps here. You can use whatever type of stamp that you want. The idea is kind of looks spider webby. I've got some oxide inks. Absolutely don't use these. That's what I use, but I'm going to show you why we don't want to use these. I have my block for my silicone stamps, and I have a couple of other stamps I'll be using. And then these adorable pinup girls. Look how cute. Now these are the ones that I chose, but there's a stack of these. If I can find this link, then I will put it in the description box for you. If not, you can use gift cards, you can use regular paper, whatever you want to use. And then here is the board that we're going to use, and it's just a puzzle board. I've told y'all before, and y'all know this, Melissa and Doug stickers are almost impossible to remove without making a big old mess, cutting it up, putting the alcohol in it, whatever. Just spray paint the back of it black and cover all that up if you want to. If you're using it in your home and you're not selling it, nobody's going to flip it over and look at the back of it. Tell them to get right on out the house if they do that. So this is just a smooth wood surface you can use. If you don't have something like this, you can use a canvas. It's totally okay. We're going to give the option here of a tray or hanging sign. I just call it a board because that's what I've got it on. I'm using chalk paint because it dries matte and it dries quickly. Compared to acrylic, it goes a long way with less coats. That is my personal experience, but you can use whatever color and type of paint, I guess, that you want to use here. I'm going to go on the inside of the little frame piece and all over the top, and then you want to be sure once you get your coverage on there that you also go down these sides, so like the outer edges of it, to make sure that it is completely black and you have a nice look all the way around. Don't forget the sides, right? Don't forget those. And then you're going to either allow that to dry, or you can use a drying tool for that, whichever way you want to do it. These little silicone or rubber type stamps do really well if you put them on some type of a backing to keep them nice and flat. And the benefit of having a clear backing like this is that you can see through it and you can tell where you're putting it, rather than maybe sticking it on a mirror or, you know, something like that. Now, if you're concerned that you're going to get some of your stamped area onto the black and you don't want to do that, you can just use a piece of paper or something to put on the inside to slide around with you to block so that it doesn't do that. So again, I'm using this. I left it in for a reason, so hopefully nobody is too confused. We learn from our mistakes when we craft, right? This looks good. It shows up nicely. It's pretty. It's got that muted look that I am going for. So I like it. And like I said before, if you want to use a spider web or whatever type of stamp you want to use, the idea is to give it some, I almost want to say whimsy. You're going to give it a different type of edge. You're going to give it a decorative edge. Now, if you don't want to do this, go ahead and paint your frame a different color if you want. Totally up to you. You could even crackle that frame on the edges if you want to do it that way. That is totally your discretion, how you want to do that. But if you want to use a stamp, you can go along, and I'm just using different parts of the stamp too. Not putting the whole tree down. This gives it almost like a webby, or like when you look up through the trees, that look, you know, the leaves through the leaves. That's kind of what it reminded me of, and I really like that. So I'm just going to use this orangey color here, and I'm going to stamp it all over. And then once I've stamped it, I'm going to let that dry, and we can go on to another color. If you're going to use paint on yours, or acrylic ink, or whatever you have, that's totally fine. It's going to do great. I put my lighter color in the background first, and then I will put a darker color on the top. That's my preference. You can start with the darker color and then put the lighter on. It's totally up to you. My experience is if you use a lighter color and then go over the top like this with a darker color, you can see the darker color better. You just have to do it to see. You just have to play around with it and see what you think. So if you're using acrylic paint, maybe you use some type of an orange on the bottom and then some type of a, maybe like a burnt brown color, or, you know, whatever color you're going for. Okay, so if you don't have these cards, these little postcards, you could buy a Halloween banner, and you can use the individual banner pieces. If you want to use cards, you can use cards. Now, the ones that I'm using are actually paper, so as far as Mod Podging them down, it works better for me using the paper. But if you use cardstock, even better, y'all, I've got tons of stuff on my Pinterest that you can go check out. Okay? Tons you can check out, print it out, and use those. All right, so be sure that you always clean up your stamps and the block that you put it on. Always get all of that off of there, because you don't later want to go in there and decide you want to use white and then the orange bleeds into the white. You don't want to do that. Put everything back nice and clean so when you start on your next set of crafts, everything is ready to go. Just a little tip that might help you out. It does help me. So here are the little beauties that I have chosen. And I'm just going to start thinking about laying them out how I want them to look. I almost want this to look like, somebody's got this in their home and they've got their little pinup girls. They got their little pinup ideas. They're considering what they want to do for Halloween, how they want to dress, their costumes, the type of decor they want to use. These little things are just tacked down on here to give them some inspiration. You can use as many or as few as you like. You can overlap them. You can cut them with some type of a cutter. You can cut them into shapes if you want to. You can leave them in a rectangle like you see them. But I have decided I want to give this a little more age. So I'm going to go around my edges and I am going to just start tearing little bits and pieces. Now, if you don't want it to rip into the picture, just use your thumb on that part or your hand on that part to cover it. Put your thumbs close together. You see how I'm doing it? To make sure that it doesn't pull into my picture and I don't tear something that I don't want to tear. Now, it does still happen occasionally, but if you just take your time, you can get it to work. Now, the good thing about fraying the edges like this is that when you go back over it with a paint or a wash or a antiquing wax, whatever you want to use, you can, it will absorb into the white and it's going to give it like a cameo effect, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm just going to continue along here and let you see how I'm doing it. See how I'm holding my hand over part of the picture and then pulling away from my thumb? That works best for me. As I am doing this, I am trying to keep in mind my space, how much room I have on here, and still the whole project is not planned out. I still don't have everything that I want to do here. But as I go along, as with most projects, and you're probably familiar with this too, things start to kind of come alive in your projects. You just kind of get lost in that flow and you start figuring things out, what you want to add when you look at it from all sides and directions. And these are going to fit good without overlapping here. I like these and I like that it is torn here. And you'll notice that the edges are white where we tore on the paper because it is one-sided printed. The other side is white. You can put them down for size and position, move them around. You can pull more off. It's totally going to be up to you. If you just want the faces, you can just do a bunch of faces. But oh my goodness, they're costumes. These Scream Queens they're giving all the Halloween vibes. Yes, girls, this is for us. Now I'm going to use antiquing wax on a finger dauber, but you feel free to use whatever you would like. I'm just going to use a minimal amount so that it doesn't keep it from sticking down and Mod Podge down just a little bit, and I'm going to start smearing that into the edges and kind of away. If you use just your finger to do this or wipe, just be very careful, because the more obvious dampness you put down on this paper, the more likely it is to tear or pull apart or whatever type of paper that you use. Just be conscious of that. You want to keep it dry and use the bare minimum. And do you see the difference that makes on the card compared to the other ones? And I will give you a side-by-side comparison so that you can, decide if this is something that you want to do. You could also use like a purple if you wanted to do purple. You could do black around the edge if you wanted to. You could do orange around the edge. You just have a bunch of options. This is totally up to you how you want to do it. And I like the idea of the aging and the rustic look. And yes, I still say rustic because look at the difference. Look at the difference. I love that. It really sells that aged look to me. So we're going to just continue along and go all the way around. Now, if you have one of the prints that you use that looks like maybe it doesn't match the background and the color of the rest of them, just go ahead and use your finger dauber to kind of blend toward the inside real gently, like you see me doing, to kind of darken the background a little bit more. But I left my ghost a nice and crispy white. Now, using a very minimal amount of Mod Podge, I'm going to go over my print and then put it down on the board. Now, what I could have done, which probably would have been quicker, maybe, is to go over the entire board with the Mod Podge and then put these in place and then use my squeegee to put it down and my roller to put it down. I get a lot of questions about this little roller squeegee thing, and it is a Mod Podge brand. But I'm going to continue along this way, so you can do it this way. You could use like a glue stick if you wanted to, just to make sure that it is clinging to the board. When I do this, I am going to, before it is completely dry, I'm going to add more Mod Podge over the top. It's going to give it some wrinkles and buckles and lift and make it look older. And they're looking beautiful, and they're looking so pretty. So here's my Mod Podge brush. Again, you can go and look and see. It's just a 2-inch thing. Now my glue, oh my goodness. I didn't clean around my edges, which is my fault, on the bottle, and it got yucky. You know, we talk about the glue boogers. Well, I got some in there and it fell into the bottle because I didn't take the time to clean it off like I should have. So tip to you, make sure you keep the edges of those clean, and if you put a little Vaseline or something like that on there, it should help you keep it nice and clean so you don't have to worry about picking the little crusties out of your Mod Podge. So I'm going to evenly go over here. Now, see where I'm going over the edge of the board with the Mod Podge? I should not have done that, because if you go over it once, maybe it's not a big deal, but to smooth it out and get a nice finish, it bleeds. So it kind of smeared it a little bit, which, you know, totally fine, whatever. Lesson learned. If you don't like that look, then you do not want to put Mod Podge on top of your edging there. I mean, it's made for paper, right? It's made for paper. It's not made for this type of thing. But I just thought I would try it because I like the idea of using all the tools that I have, because you might not have everything that I have and that I use on a regular basis, but you might have something that you haven't tried yet, right? And if it'll work and I try it out first, it's perfect. Now, part of my clip is missing, but what I did is took the white Halloween, that stamp, and I painted a little bit of white chalk paint on it and then stamped it over the top. And then now I have a little pumpkin. I got a little bit of that chalk paint. You can see what I'm doing now. Lightly brushing it on there. You don't want to dip it into the paint because it is going to smear and get gloppy. You just want to kind of lightly put over the top of it. And then I'm adding some little stamps to the board. The pack of paper that I got came with stickers, so I also added 4 of those stickers that are not the same as the ladies that are already on there. So we have even more little Scream Queens on there. And then for this little ghost, I'm just carefully going over it with some more white chalk paint. And I'm going to put it down and stamp it. Now, don't press hard or it will slide. All you really have to do is just put it down. You don't want to slide and smear it all over the place, right? We don't want to do that. So I'm just adding them here and there, and I'm also going to add it along the edges. Just little bits here and there, not the whole body. I'm not aiming for the whole body. I'm just getting little figures here and there, little designs. And you've already got chalk paint on the bottom. If you wanted to use acrylics, you could definitely do that here on top of that chalk paint, and it should stay in place for you. Oh, I'm loving this. Again, we're going to clean all this off. Now, I'm getting all this off because now I just want to use the face of this ghost stamp. I don't want to use the whole thing. So I'm going to wipe it down. I'm going to use my finger and just dot it right on the mouth and the eyes, which, yes, I could also draw it, but not everybody can draw. So I'm, again, showing you options. You can put little faces on your pumpkins, and then now you will have some cute little jack-o'-lanterns. It doesn't have to be directly in the center. Wherever you put them, that's where they're looking, right? And then we'll just add little faces. Look how cute! Now, if you want to make this a hanging sign, you can grab some orange ribbon or thin ribbon or some jute or whatever you decide that you want to use. And then we will make a very easy hanger for this. I love this so much, and I have lots more paper and stickers left from this. So if you like this, then I would love to know, because I would be very happy to create some more of these in this pinup theme. So super cute. How empowering. Look at them. Look at them. I love it. So I've just tied knots in the ends to give it a little more to cling to. I like to use the knots on here, especially when you put a little piece of scrap cardboard or scrap paper there. It just keeps everything from sliding around. It kind of locks it into place. More surface area to add the glue so that it stays down. I'm just using a scrap of paper. This is the backing for some stickers or something that I had from Dollar Tree. If you can see you can tell that's what it is. And then I'm just going to put it right above the knot to help hold it in place. And that will create a very easy hanger for you to put wherever you like in your office or your bathroom or your bedroom or your workspace or your craft room, wherever you would like. And if you just want to use it as a tray, seal it with some Mod Podge, and then you can put dry things on it. Like if you want to put your notepad on there and you want to put some pencils down, you can certainly do that. Very cute. You could also just use it as a leaner if you wanted to. Really super cute. Look at the little ginger pirate in the middle. I love her. She's so cute. She's probably my favorite one, and I did put her in the middle because I'm a ginger. So yeah. Look, we got a bee and a little circus girl. Spider Woman. So cute. Thank you to my channel members. You guys are amazing. I've added some new things over there if you want to go check it out. Y'all know that y'all like a good old light up project. Here we go. We're going to need some black paint and a brush, a little bit of tape, some of the stickers that I use, but you can use printables of any type. It doesn't have to be a sticker. I want to show you these candles. I didn't use them, but I'm going to give them an honorable mention because they came from Dollar Tree. They have these in a white, a cream, and a black that I have found and purchased. So you will be seeing these again if you want to go and try to find some of your own. They flicker. They're stunning. This one little piece that I found at Dollar Tree recently in the springtime, and then a couple of little blocks to help be a support. So, of course, we're going to start off by painting everything. This is an easy project, y'all, so do not be intimidated by this. We're going to do lights because I love lights, and I love lights in the Halloween projects and holiday projects. They're just fun to me. They just add a little bit of whimsy with the light and something unexpected. And so I don't use those lights that you just saw. I don't use those because they didn't give me the illumination that we needed. So I switched over to string lights, which I will show you shortly. Now I'm going to paint the front, the back, and the bottom. And then I will let that dry. And then I'm also going to paint the green blocks in a black as well. Now the sides that are going to be touching each other, we're going to glue those two green ones together and glue it to the board there, the piece of wood. We don't have to paint that part. You can, it's not going to hurt anything, but it's not necessary. Making sure I get inside the windows and all around there with a solid coverage. And then I'll paint these two. And again, if you don't have a heat tool to use, then you can also use a fan, or a hair dryer. If speed is important, if you're making a lot of projects. If not, just leave it overnight or leave it while you have a coffee break and walk away. All right, so I got some new glue that I got from TEMU. I wanted to try out. And I leave it in here so you can see real time how long it takes to dry. So you'll see me doing some things and whatever, but I don't cut anything out because I want to show you how quick it is. I'm just gluing one of the blocks to the bottom, and one of the blocks to the other one. This is the information on that. If I can grab that link, I'll put it down there for you. I am an affiliate for TEMU, but look at that. Look how fast that is. I am an affiliate, but you can get your projects and products wherever you like. All right, so that I went ahead and painted it so that the entire thing is solid. And I'm going to choose, I've counted, there are 6 windows, 5 windows in the door. And I am going to choose which ones I want to use. I decided to use the ones with the white background because they are going to glow a little bit brighter. So you can really see the detail in these little pieces. Now, these are stickers, but I'm not using those as stickers. I'm going to leave them on the backing. And I'm going to use these as like you would if you had little printouts. And there you go. I got 6 of them. We can continue to cut them down if we want. Now we're going to look at our house and decide which one we want to go in which window. Look at the witches. The little trio of witches right there. These are super cute. I want to see, I would like the idea of someone standing in the door, because to me it makes more sense than putting like a half body in the doorway, just dangling there. You know what I mean? My mind wouldn't let me do it, but you do you. Whatever you want to do. I mean, it's all your imagination anyway. Crafting is your own inspiration. And, I say making it my own. That's my channel name. That's the whole point. That's what I want you to do. And I do say it a lot because I really want you to get that, if nothing else, from my videos. You don't have to do it exactly like me. You don't have to do it exactly like the other YouTubers who have millions of views. No, you don't have to do that. You do what is cute and good for your home and your family and your life, right? Whatever brings you that joy, that's what I want you to do. So I'm just using a little bit of tape to put these down. You can use hot glue if you want to, but it's just too big of a mess, and this is quicker, and you don't have all the webs, and you don't have the bulk of the glue on there, and you're not burning your fingers touching these smaller surfaces. You can easily trim around where you need to trim. No need really to cut these into any particular shape. You'll see me trim these up. If they overlap one another in a window, then I'll cut them a little bit smaller just to make sure that it doesn't overlap. And the reason is because once you have a light in the background, you're going to see the line from that other picture's corner or overlap. You know what I mean? And that would drive me nuts. Y'all know how I'm about that kind of stuff. That would just drive me bonkers. So, a little bit of tape, choosing where we want everybody to go. Plus, you got to consider where you're putting down your tape as well. And you don't want your tape to overlap. If you are new here, I welcome you. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up so that YouTube knows that I am working hard over here and growing my channel, giving you the types of things that you like to see. And if you are enjoying these Halloween videos, would you mind giving me a pumpkin or some type of a Halloween something down there in the comment section? It can be a ghosty or a witch or anything, a zombie. I love to know when you come and visit and you stay to watch me complete these projects to see how they turn out. Once everything is taped into place, look how adorable. I left the house very basic with black. We're not doing shading. We're not doing anything like that. Choose whatever type of string lights you want to use. I use mine over and over in my projects. When I break the projects down, I just wrap them up. Well, that looks like I tangled it up. And then I use them again. I just use them over and over. You can't possibly make every craft that everybody makes every time, especially as many as some of us make. You can't do that. You just make the ones that you like, right? Now you're going to go around with tape. I just started off by gluing and then glue the base down. But you're going to go around with tape and you're going to make sure that those lights overlap into the windows and in the door where your people are. And you can move those around until you get them in the right position. Now, I wanted a piece of black fabric to go on here, but then I thought, well, we want something lighter colored to reflect the light and really make that glow. If you use black, it's not going to do that. This napkin that I have is white on one side and black on the other. If I had a piece of paper that was white and black, I would have used that. But I'm using this napkin just to show you that even if all you have is a Halloween napkin, you can use it. It's a 2-ply. But I don't want to tear it apart because I want the white backing on there. So if it starts to come apart, just add a little bit of glue and stick it back together. It's easy. It may take a tiny bit more of your time, but it is worth the look that you get from it, believe me. And this is just because I don't want the back being messy too, that it's going to cover it up. So it's giving us kind of reflecting the light, and it's also giving us a darker background so you don't see all the wires that are in there. When you glue it in place, and you can patchwork it like I had to because I've still got to do those peaks up there, then you can just use like a little sander or something to sand away all of your edges. And don't worry, we're going to go back over that and clean that up so you won't see the white edges from the napkin. Go all the way around, make it nice and neat. And I even found in the end screen that there were a couple of pieces that I didn't get off, but you just go back in there and you just nip it off. Not a big deal, right? You can use a fingernail file to get in there in those small, tight, angled places. So I'm going to go around the top now, and we're doing those other pieces of roof line with the same technique, a little bit of glue, and then you'll go back and sand it off. If you use fabric or paper, you don't have to be as gentle with it. Obviously, I have to be very ginger with it because it's tissue. It's very thin. All right, and then I'm going to go back over with some black. And then look, y'all. Look how cute. Look at our little Halloween party house. Very cute. These lights I get, they have 3 different settings. They have a flash that is fast and one that's a little slower. So I'm warning you now, I'm going to show you what it looks like while they're flashing. So look away if that bothers you. And there we go. If you want to look like they got a disco ball or some party lights going on in there, check that out. Super cute. Super cute. And this is what it looks like if it is set up without any lights on it. Very cute. And this is where if you wanted to embellish the front, you certainly could, but I wanted to keep it beginner friendly. And this is what it's going to look like at night. Adorable. I love it, and I hope you love it as much as I do. All right, so we get some pumpkin orange chalk paint. Paint brushes. I'm going to use some Tite Bond Quick and Thick. I have some satin orange ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use a wooden frame. And these are also from Dollar Tree. This little card came from a pack that I got. It's a banner pack. I'm going to clip that off, and then I'm going to use this little pouncer. I also got these from TEMU. Y'all, these things are nuts. They are so soft and squishy like a marshmallow, and they apply the paint beautifully without you having to go into all those cracks. It is a serious time saver. Add a little bit of paint and just pounce, pounce, pounce all over this. I don't know if you could say that it is like when you do a stencil and you pounce it. I don't know. But I love it. I love it because it doesn't go into the cracks. It doesn't leave a mess for you to have to clean up in there. And it leaves the darkness from the laser cut still in there so that you don't have to go back and do any shading on the inside if you like that kind of a look. And I often like that kind of a look. Now, you saw me initially with 2 of those because I'm going to be using one at a project for a future video. So make sure you subscribe if you're interested in seeing what we do with the other one. You can do this one time and get the coverage you like. You can do it twice. It's totally up to you. Dries super fast too because you're using a very small amount of paint. Now I'm going to decide how I want to place this so I can cut this out and make it fit inside of this frame. Are they the cutest little retro babies? I'm going to use a pencil and just trace right around here on the inside. And that is going to give us a guide. Now, we're not going to cut on the line. We're going to cut outside of that line because we want this to fit behind the frame and not fall through it. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go put my blades right on the edge, and I'm going to go outside by probably, I don't know, about 1/4 inch. I judged how far I wanted it to go by the width of that ring and how much room we would have to apply some glue. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. And then once you get yours cut out, if you want to, you can go back and make it a little more even. You know, sometimes we have pieces that are a little bit thicker when we're just kind of eyeballing it like that. You can always make it a little bit better. I did not want mine to be seen behind the details. I wanted that detailed. I love this. So I'm going to take the Quick and Thick. The reason I'm using this is because obviously it's thick. It's a strong adhesive, and it takes a little bit for it to dry. So when you apply it on here, you have a little bit of wiggle room. And it takes a minute to do this, to get this all the way around. Do you see what I mean about the width of that ring there, or that circle before it becomes the cutout parts? That's what I was thinking of when I was trimming that out. I hope that makes sense. It does inside of my head, but sometimes when it comes out my mouth, it doesn't. You know what I mean? You know how it goes. We're going to go all the way around until I get back to my original starting point. And then if you get any on the inside, just wipe that off. This does dry clear, but you know, you don't want anything like that on there. You want it to look high end. You always want your projects to look like, you know, something special. So I didn't get that completely lined where I wanted it. I pivoted it a little bit by holding my fingers on the back and just kind of pushing it in a circle. And then when I know exactly where I want it to be, you can press it down all the way around. It's going to hold it good in place, no problem. Then I'm going to seal the edges in any areas that I can seal the edges. I'm going right over the edge and right onto the wood piece. Very thin line. It doesn't take a lot, but it will lock it in place and keep it exactly where I need it to last me through the season and maybe beyond. Where would you even put the tape? It would just be crazy. That's why the glue is a good option for this, I think. Maybe even a glue stick. you can try it. So now it needs to dry, because if you put it on the table while it is wet, it's going to stick to your table and we're not done working with it. So it needs to dry. You can let it air dry, or you can get a drying tool and use it. I'm going to take a tiny bit of antiquing wax on an angle brush. I'm going to dot most of it off, and then I'm going to press that angle brush right into the edge of the wood cutout and onto the edge of the picture. This is going to give it slightly a silhouette look, and it is, or a cameo look, I guess, and it is just going to bring a little more depth, a little more dimension into the project. Easy to do. Don't be intimidated by waxes, because they really can make a difference. So here I have my beautiful satin ribbon. I am just going to make a very simple bow. You can see how I did it. If you need to watch it again, you can go back. You can put it in slow motion and you can watch it again. I'm just going to do the little rabbit ear technique. Tie it. I think this is the perfect little bow for this. And I thought, a lot of people don't like bows, but I thought a bow would be so appropriate for this, because, they're kids, right? They're cute, sweet little kids. They're all excited. They're ready to roll. So I'll place it down with a little bit of hot glue. No need to tie it on because it's so lightweight. Get my little forever fluffing bows, y'all. Are y'all fluffers too? You like to fluff a good bow? Then I'm going to cut a length of this out. I probably maybe 18 inches of this. I don't often measure, but probably 18 inches. And I am going to just slant the edges to keep it from unraveling. And then using the cutouts, I am going to lace this through here. Pull these evenly. Put the tips together. Line that up. And then I will flip it around here and just make one simple knot. You can slide the knot up a little bit, and this creates how you're going to be able to hang your charm. It's perfect this way. If you want to use jute, you can certainly use jute for your charm. The idea of it as a charm is you can hang it off of a lamp, you can hang it off of the back of a chair, you can put it on a candle, you can hang it on a doorknob, you can hang it off of a cabinet knob, you can hang it around your mirror in your car. It is totally up to you. You got a lot of options with this little one, and this is so easy to make. I think it's adorable. Look how sweet these babies are. Oh my goodness, they're so adorable. Look at those little chubby faces. Everybody's smiling and happy. They're so happy I worked through my stash. We are going to start off with a little round box from Dollar Tree. We're going to need the top and the bottom for this project. We're going to take a variety of ribbons, whatever type you like. Got some Dollar Tree, got some thrifted, and we're going to take a variety of trims. Look at this yellow trim. We're going to take some white paint and a brush, and any panel of fabric that you like, and a vintage toy to go on top. Look at this little squeaker toy. I probably had this when I was a kid. And I'm also going to use some of my double stick tape. So we're going to start by painting this box white. We're going to paint it white because we want the white fabric that we're going to be putting on top of it to really pop against the white paint. And it will look a little bit darker, a little more dingy if we put it against the brown box. So just go over the top, the bottom, and let it dry. Next, we're going to lay our box down. We're going to cut out a strip of fabric that is enough to go over the sides all the way around and enough to tuck into the top. So you'll put some glue on it. You're going to line your bottom up with the bottom edge of your fabric, and then you'll just go ahead and firmly roll this over until you get back to the starting point. Add some hot glue and then glue that in place. No need to add glue anywhere else on there. That's going to hold it fine. I'm going to trim up my bottom because, when you cut, you don't always cut a straight line. This fabric came from Dirt Cheap in a package of Amazon return stuff. So it's a package and it's got a whole bunch of different fabrics in it. You use whatever you can find, and I know Dollar Tree is probably going to have some fantastic pieces. I just thought this looked a little kind of like, youthful and a little bit like vintage to me. Or like what in my head, what it would look like. Very fun, very simple and fun. So I'm going to go to the top of the box, and I just used the bottom of the box to hold the lid while I put the glue on here and put this in place. Once I get that pom-pom rim all the way around, it's going to look like this. Very cute. And then we're going to start layering, but I'm going to be layering this beautiful purple ribbon right over the top. This glitter ribbon came from Dollar Tree. Then on top of that, we're going to add some trim, whatever type of trim you have. You could even take something off an old dress if you wanted to. This came from a friend who donated a bunch of craft supplies to me. Okay, so and then we're going to go to the bottom. We're going to let everything dry on the top while we work on the bottom. So this is the bottom edge, and we're going to trim this out with some more of that glittery ribbon. It's going to match and make everything look, you know, nice and look good together. Then I'll take some of this ribbon, and I'm going to go around it right in the middle. And then we're going to start on the top of the box. Now, this time we're only using glue. This time you're going to want to use cool temp glue or some other type of glue, whatever you have, and start gluing this down. The difference is with cool temp glue, you can get, it dries fast. You'll have to add a little more time for your projects if you use any other type of a glue in a bottle maybe. So, unless you use super glue, of course. All right, so I'm going to go around almost like a cinnamon roll. We're going to go round and round and round, getting smaller and smaller until we are on the inside. I'm going to leave an open spot on the inside for that double stick tape so that we can stick down that little dog. I'll then grab my nano tape, cut off a piece about the size of that little square down there that we have left, put that down slightly to the back, and the back is going to be where the seams meet, so keep that in mind. Keep all your seams in one area. And then he will stick down. Look at that. No damage, so that he can be used in other projects if I wanted to. The easiest way to get the box together at this point is to push your pom-poms down and do it upside down. If you try to do it the other way, the pom-poms are going to try to go into the box and you won't be able to get the lid on. But it will fit. I got some pumpkins from Dollar Tree last year, and they are purple and glittery. So to bring that purple in that's in the fabric, and in some of our ribbon, I'm going to take some of those pick tops and just glue those down together, make a little stack there, and we're going to put it right to the side of the little dog. Hold it in place, and don't hesitate to let it sort of hang off the edge and spill over. You can certainly do that. I've seen that in a lot of projects. Just, you know, fill it up. Just fill it up to the top. I'll use a Dollar Tree witch hat to go on the side of the little dog. Look how cute so far, y'all. You could stop at that point if you wanted, but we're going to keep on because you know I'm going to keep on. You know this about me by now, right? I'm going to keep on. We're going to cut down some pieces of ribbon, and we're going to make a little embellishment for his hat. So take whatever colors you like, and I'm just going with the colors that coordinate with everything else going on in this project. And a piece of ribbon I'm going to tie around the middle. The ribbon pieces right now are at about 5 inches. I'm going to cut them down. I'm going to cut about 1 inch off of each side, so we have about 3 inches across. Fluff it out as much as you can, and then I'm going to glue it right on top of that hat. Look at her fancy hat. She's going to a Halloween party in that hat. So we got some little goodies that we can add here and there. I'm going to add this little bat, and it's actually a wooden sticker from Dollar Tree, but I'm going to use it for something else, just to make a little piece of decor. And we're going to give this cute little dog a collar. So I'll take that same trim. It is stretchy. I'm trying not to stretch it out though. And I'm going to tuck it here and there so that it looks as though it is going around her neck. I will glue it onto itself and onto the back of the box very simply, and then trim off any excess. The glue's not going to stick to that dog, so be sure you put it on the box. Ooh, look how precious. Alright, so now I'm going to add a little orange spider right over here. I'll grab up some tulle and make a little puff for the top of her hat. We could do a pom-pom if you wanted to do a pom-pom up there, or you could leave it just like it is. But I've found with these vintage crafts, it's almost overdone to the point where some people, you know, they do call it tacky. I just say it's busy because I like it. Tacky seems to have a very bad connotation, and I think that it's in the eye of the beholder, right? So I think that in this situation, tacky is called for. So I'm going to split the top of that little pom-pom thingy, and we're going to stick it right down on top of her hat. A little bit of hot glue. I'm going to do the same thing with this piece, only this is going to be a little backing, a little extra little puff on the side. This would have been really cute if I would have had orange or purple, but I didn't. I had black, so we're going to go with it. There's plenty of black in this project to make it make sense. How cute is that? Can you imagine the things you could put down in that cute little box? What would you put in a little treat box like this? Candy?
I love the time of year when you can get out the oranges and the rich colors and the coziness, and I love vintage, and you're going to be seeing that.
We're going to start off with this little sign that I found. These are thrifted. You can see the prices, maybe you can see where it comes from. There are 2 of these and I'm going to use one on each project. I'm just going to start off with some black chalkboard paint and put that down and then go over all of that writing. I tried to erase that off of there and it won't come off, so it must have been permanent. Alright, so we're going to take this sign apart because we're going to use this one sign for 2 different projects. Just pull the ribbon off the back. If you pull carefully, it'll loosen up those staples. You can take those right out and throw them into the trash. Save your ribbon, we'll use it again, and then you can save your little pumpkin. We're going to use this yard pick, and it is a black cat with a witch hat. Love it. And just going to turn it over and then press down and pull the stake off. You can save the stake because you can use it on other projects, and we will be doing that in another video. This is a thrifted headband that I found. Looks like a little girl's headband. And it very easily will pull right off the backing. And I love these. This floret shape, or whatever you want to call it, pinwheel, is perfect for vintage DIYs. Cute. Alright, so for the first project, we're going to use the oval sign. And I'm going to just see how I want this to look. I've moved these around a little bit. I'm sparing you because the video can be quite long if I show you all of it. But you can kind of play around with it and see how you would like for your layout to be. Since the center of this sign is depressed, I'm going to use these little tower blocks, tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. I use them on a lot of projects for the same thing, just as like little risers or spacers. I'm going to put it on the back and use it to hold it up off of the sign. I love using signs that have some depth in them because it gives a lot of shadows, it gives a lot of dimension, it gives interest, and it also allows you the space to add in lights if you choose to do that, or add picks or anything else that you want to use. So before I glue them down to the backing, I just want to go ahead and get these little pieces on here, their supports if you will, so that I can place them down. And I do like the way that this looks, and this is going to fit nicely. So in order to mark my space where I don't forget where I'm gluing, where I need to put the glue, I'm just going to use some more of these blocks, and I'm going to go right in between with my glue. Now if you have a flat oval sign, which you can get similar to that, at Dollar Tree, if you have something flat, you don't have to worry about using the Jenga blocks to raise anything up unless you just want to, and that would give you some dimension there as well. Then you can add everything in how you like it. I'm just kind of making sure that the top and bottom sign have about the same amount of space, but you could use your blocks there too as little spacers. And then the same thing with the cat. I don't want a bunch of extra glue all over the place, because sometimes when you peel the glue off of a painted surface, it'll take your paint off. So I don't want that to happen. And so doing it this way is going to help me a little kind of gauge where I need the glue and where I most definitely do not need the glue. Now this little cat is going to overlap slightly onto the spooky sign, which I do not mind. I like it. We're going to go with it. It's all layered and pretty. And then on the top where the hole is, I'm just going to add one of these little pinwheels or rosettes, whatever you want to call them, right to the top. It has a little rhinestone in the middle. So over here on this spider, I'm going to use a white paint pen and cover up all of the legs. You could cover your entire spider if you wanted to. And I'm going to put down a spider ring that came from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to cut the ring part off. You can see it over there to the right. And it will be perfectly ready. I love it! Isn't that so much better? Again, that's going to give it some more interest, some more dimension, and the sparkle from the little orange stone, it's kind of carried over from the sparkle and the rhinestone. Yes, you could stop right here if you would like, but I'm going to add a little extra something to my sign, so I'm going to show you how you can add some extra. I'm just using some scrap ribbons that I have. Some are wired, some are not. And I am going to make a little bow to go on the top. And so I've decided that yes, this is going to be the right length. That's kind of what I was doing, trying to decide about the lengths. You can dovetail your ends on your ribbons. And then the thinner ribbons I usually just cut at a slant, and you'll see that here. I'm just going at a slant. to put those down. I'm going to add this piece, which I just cut in half because it was a little bit bigger than the other ones, and dovetail that. Use any colors that you like. They can match or clash or complement or whatever you like. Just do what you like. Remember, the floppy bows need to go on top, or the floppy pieces need to go on top so that there's some structure from below, which are the pieces that have the wire. That makes sense, kind of holds it up. And then we're going to use that same piece of black ribbon we already had that we took off of our sign, and we're just going to tie these right in the middle. A couple of knots right in the center, and you can take your time with this. You don't have to get in a hurry. When they flip over, don't worry, you can push them right back down like I do. A couple of double knots, triple knot, whatever you're comfortable with, and then you can cut it a little long so that that black piece will be now part of your bow. I love these types of bows in fall and Halloween decor. I just think that they're really pretty and they're festive. Okay, so you could put this on the side of the cat, or you could put it in the center and just kind of tuck it around your sign pieces. And that's what I decided to do. You can use a clamp to hold it in place while you move on to another part of your project. You know, you want to be efficient with your crafting so you can get it all done. We all don't have a lot of time to craft all day, do we? This is my job, and that's why I can sit here and do it. But for those of you who have jobs outside of your home, or you have children, or you're taking care of your elderly parents, or you have, you know, disabilities of any type, you need to kind of get it done a little bit quicker, a little more efficiently. So you can see here what I've done. I'm just trying to kind of make this almost look like a little feather or embellishment on the side. We're just using like the tails. We're not actually putting a bow here. I've just made a V in the center and then overlapped it and glued it down to itself. You can see on this little orange ribbon. And I'm going to put it down just like this. I love the little pizzazz it gives. And then I thought, hey, let's just go ahead and use a little scrap and cut this in like a V. So I have a V in this little piece, and I'm going to put it right on top. And that looks really cute. I like that. It's a different kind of layered look, but it's cute. Then you can fluff around. You can tuck your bow ends under. You can curl them over. You can wrap, you know, kind of bend them around your fingers so they have a little bit of a curl in it. And at this point, it's a good time to trim up anything that you see that you would like to be trimmed. My little ribbon was fraying just a little bit, so I just went ahead and trimmed it up, make it look nice and neat. And then those other pieces, you can trim those down. It's best to start off with the same length, and then you can just change it up. You can trim it, but you can't add it back, can you? Very nice. That's our first project. So we're going to take this other one and paint it, of course. And then we're going to take a variety of ribbons and some rickrack. One of these is a sticker, but I'm going to use it as a ribbon. I'm going to measure around the outside of that little border. Cut it so it's easier to work with. And then I'm going to prop it up. I have it leaning on a ribbon spool, and the candles in front of it are kind of holding it in place where it doesn't scoot around. This gets it up where I can see it a little bit better and where you can see it a little better. It's closer to the camera. So I'm just going to add a little dot of glue, and you might want to use your cool temperature here because you're going to be touching this a lot, or protect your fingers, whichever way you want to do it. And I'm going to add just little dots of glue here and there, or little very thin lines. I'm using a bigger gun right now, and I'm trying to get used to the flow. Then you're just going to tap it down. It doesn't take a lot to hold this little rickrack on there, but doesn't it make a pretty little detail? And then we're going to go around the corners. Once you get it all the way around, just kind of go around the corner. That's another lovely part of having a trim like that. It just easily folds over. Clean up your glue if you get any on there, and then continue all the way back over until you get to that corner. You can see I'm trying to be very light with that glue, but if any of it does come off, you can just pick it off once it's cool. Trim your corner down, get it nice and neat. Then I decided to take the black and go over the edges of the sign, right where it's kind of looking where the gray and orange kind of blend together. I decided to overlap it there. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's going to go kind of over and off the edge. Makes it look a little bit bigger than it actually is. We're going to do the same thing to the bottom. Very easy, just a little bit of glue, just like the orange one that we did. And then we can trim off where we need to trim off. And it's so much easier to do. If you just turn it over on the back and just follow the curves that are there, it makes it so much easier. And then we're going to do the sides last. It will overlap and make it look finished. You can use an orange paint pen or marker or whatever you want. If you have any little areas that aren't covered, you can just go ahead and cover up that gray with your orange. Then we're going to go back to those same little tower blocks, and I'm going to use 6 of these. It doesn't take this much to hold it up, but we're going to use this for supports for lights. So that's why I'm doing it this way. I'm going to go down, leave a little space, and now it is higher than the surrounding place, and it gives us a nice little area for lights. With that said, you're going to take a crafting knife and you need to drill a little hole, or you can use a screw, or you can use whatever you drill holes with. You can use a drill, but in case you don't have a drill, you can use a knife. Feed your lights up through here. These, I am pretty sure I got these from Dollar Tree. Pull it all the way through. Then you can take some mounting tape, and mine did come from Dollar Tree. This is very good sticky stuff. Put it on the battery pack, and then you can just stick it down. It can be upside down, it can be the right side up, whichever way you want to do it. Then we're going to go ahead and glue this down on top of the other sign. You don't want to glue down your lights there, so just make sure you're not sitting it down on the lights. That's what I'm doing, making sure that it's between my little supports here. And then you're just going to run those lights. Once the glue is dry, you're going to run the lights around the outside. You don't have to do this tightly, but just tight enough that it, the light strand is kind of hidden behind your sign there. And you can use some more of that mounting tape. I was down to the last little bit. I had a little tiny piece left to stick on the end of those lights, and then just stick those down to the surface underneath or to the top of the sign. I'm really not sure where it's stuck down, but it stayed there. And then when you turn it on, it's going to look like this. It is not a super bright sign. It is not intended to be, but this is what it looks like when the lights are slightly dimmed. And if you like your sign like this, you can leave it just like this. Or you could embellish it with that little pumpkin. You could spray paint it, you can paint it, you can decoupage it, you can put it anywhere you want to on your sign if you would like. Or you can do something a little extra special. This is a bonus. Look at this little skeleton. It came from Dollar Tree. These are a collection of cupcake cups that I've had forever in my pantry. A little bit of lace trim, a variety of ribbons, lots of hot glue. We're going to make some clothes, so check this out. You're going to run your fingers around the edge of your cupcake paper. Just get 3 ones that you like that coordinate, and then fold it over, and then you're going to cut just a little notch out, just a little one now, because it just needs to be big enough to slide over this little witch. It's going to go just like we're getting her dressed in the morning. She has no zippers, so we're going to make sure that it will go above that pelvis and go right up there. All right, so now we know that's how we want the skirt to be. I'm going to go around and do the same thing with the beautiful candy corn. Flatten it all out, fold it over, cut just a little notch out right there. So there's another layer of her skirt, and then we're going to take the orange and we're going to do the same thing to completely press those out, because that'll give some interest in the skirt. Then you're going to trim just a little off, because we want each of these layers to be kind of stacked. So I'm going to trim this one down too. We want to make sure that each layer is a little bit longer than the other one, or each layer is a little bit shorter than the other one, because when you stack it, you want to be able to see each color. So the black is the biggest, and then the orange, and then the candy corn. So see there? That's how it's going to line up. A tiny bit of glue here just to hold our pieces together to make it easier when we put this back on our little skeleton. Just a few little dots, and then press that down together. All right, now she needs a little hat. So we're going to make a hat now. I'm going to use the black for this. I'm going to press it out, fold it again, just like we did before, but this time we're not going to cut anything. And once we get it into that position, we're going to fold it over once more, and it's going to look almost like a little dunce cap. Isn't that cute? Use a little hot glue to glue your edges down. Just make sure that it's going to fit on her. Then I'm going to cut one of the scraps and make a little band for the hat. So I'm cutting that off. I'm going to go right around here with a little bit of hot glue. And now her little hat is going to match her skirt. And y'all don't worry, she won't be topless. We're going to give her a top too. Okay, her hat is perfect. You could put a little, any other type of embellishment on there that you wanted to. And we're going to put her skirt back on. You see her arms are very rigid. They don't bend. She doesn't have working elbows. So close your eyes if you don't want to see this. We're doing an amputation. But don't worry, we'll give her her arms back. She'll get them back. I'll tell you when you can look. Don't look yet. Don't look. Oh, okay, good. All right, we're good. We're good. She's not in any pain. She's still smiling. Okay, so we're going to take that skirt, now that we can get to it better, and just fold it over as wide as you want the skirt to be. You can leave it completely in a full sweeping circle there, or you can give it a dart in the back and make it just a little bit smaller. And that's what I decided to do. Just going to put some hot glue right in there. I'm not concerned that it doesn't line up in the back because you can trim that off, and she's going to be sitting on the skirt, so no worries. She needs a petticoat or a slip. So let's trim this down just big enough that we can glue a piece right on her pelvis. And that is going to give her a nice little cover and a little cute little unexpected detail. I had way too much fun making this cute little girl. All right, now I'm going to add some of that. It's like a velvet type of trim. I got it at the thrift store, but I know that you can get something similar like in a satin at Dollar Tree, or I have seen it in my stores anyway. There's her cute little hat. Here's her cute little skirt. And then I'm trying to find front and back here. We can put her arms back on. You just have to hold it for just a minute once you put the hot glue down. In any position that you like, you could have her waving if you wanted to. But I want her to be very prim and proper and just have her hands sitting on her skirt in front of her. Now we're going to make her a cute little halter top. Trim off a piece. We're going to tuck it up underneath her arms. This was easy to do. This was not hard, although you see me fidgeting here. And then you can just trim it off and glue it in the back so it makes just like a little, little top around her. And then we're going to make a halter by just gluing one end down on the left side. Going to take it around her neck and then glue it on the right side. And then you can just trim it up so they're both even and she looks nice and neat. Okay, now we can take her little hat and put it on. Just takes a little hot glue on the front top part of her head, since the hat is leaning backwards. That way it can grip onto the paper there, the cupcake paper. So cute. Okay, don't look. I'm trimming the dress and then we're going to be taking her legs off in a minute. Okay, don't look. I'll tell you when to look. Okay. Bones don't have nerves anyway, so she didn't feel any of that. Okay, now you can look. So now we're going to put her back on the sign and decide how we want her to sit here. She is so precious. I love her. I think I want her to sit right at the top. And I'll put her in the top middle. I'm making sure that I have her positioned correctly, and I'm going to glue her legs down to the skirt. This is going to also glue her sort of into a sitting position. And conveniently, that sign that I use has like a lip on it, so she'll sit nicely right up there. But if you have a flat sign, just use one of those tower blocks, glue it to the top, and sit her right on top of that. I'm gonna hold her down for a minute to make sure she stays in place, and let's give her her legs back. Now I'm going to glue these where it looks like she is sitting with her ankles crossed. Again, prim and proper, sweet little girl. After the glue is dry, go on to the next leg, and then when you put it on at an angle as well so that her ankles are crossed. And you can use a dot of glue between the ankles if you want to. Oh, she's so cute. Y'all, she's cute. I love her so much. Then she needs to hold something. So you can give her a pumpkin, or you can give her a little figurine, like a little black cat, which is super cute too. Because this is kind of a vintagey inspired video, I thought maybe we would do something with a little more pizzazz. So I'm just going to put this little sparkly pom-pom. I'm going to use one of these cupcake picks and just cut it off. And that came from Dollar Tree. And then also a bat, and we're going to make her a little scepter or a wand with the bat. So I'm going to use my acrylic marker here and just cover that in orange. Going to add some hot glue and let her hold on to that. So is she a witch? Is she a trick-or-treater? Is she a clown? Is she just a skeleton? I think she is a trick-or-treating skeleton, and she is precious. I love it. I hope y'all love her as much as I do, and I hope you'll try it. It's really not hard. Here are our beautiful projects. This is our cat sign. It's the most spooky time of the year. So happy that you're enjoying them. It means a lot to me that you follow me through the slower times of the year and through the festive times of the year. I have so much fun with y'all. All right, we're going to start off with one of my purple glue stick. I've got some string lights. Mine came from TEMU, but you can get yours from anywhere. This is a little banner sign. This is a frame that I am recycling. I used this when I very first started my channel. I did a little shadow box with this. So you're just going to need a frame that is going to be big enough for the picture that you have and is going to fit over the top of the box you're going to use. So we're going to make sort of like a shadow box here. I'll just be using this glue stick to put this down on the inside of the spot. If you use hot glue, that's fine, but I would stick to the corners rather than going all the way over the picture so you don't get a bunch of lumps and bumps when your light shines on it. It'll be nice and smooth. I'm just going to press it down with my hand a little bit, and then I'll turn it to make sure that I've kind of got it centered. And then see the beauty of a glue stick, you can still move it a little bit till you get your right position. And then I'll just press it with my hands, and then I'll grab a little tool and put this all down. You can use a credit card, your driver's license, any flat edge that is narrow. You can use that to kind of squeegee down your project. All right, see? Stuck nicely. Now I'm just going to undo this here. These are little LED lights, and they have 3 different modes. This is not a sponsored video, but I really like these, and I got them in a pack of, I think, 12. So they work great for these kind of projects. All right, so I'm going to use some mounting tape. You can use regular tape on the top if you would like, but this seems to do the trick for me. It's sort of like a gel, it's kind of squishy, and you can press the wire straight down into it, which makes it great for this type of project, in my humble opinion. I'm going to do a little bit of tape on each of the corners on the frame. If you don't want to put them on the back of the frame, you could always put them on the box, but for me, I don't want it to show up at all. I don't want to see it at all from any angle, and if I put it on the frame itself, you're not going to see any of that lighting hardware. Well, you might see the little roll box. You might see that, but you got to look hard for it. So now a little tip for you. For me, I get back around to the same, and then you end up, it seems like the lights overlap, and you get them in the same pattern. So what you can do is bend your wire a little bit, like I did over here in the corner. Bend it, and then that'll change the position of the lights that you put down. So I'm going to go all the way around. And you'll see when I turn the lights on what I mean. Instead of a bunch of like 3 lights stacked on top of each other, I want it to be more of an even kind of distribution of the lighting. And this helps a little. It's still not perfect, but it does help a little bit. So you can see where the little bubbles are in the line. That's where the lights are. Do this any way you would like, though. Certainly don't have to do it this way. Now I'll use some of the same mounting tape. I'm just going to kind of double it up, hit it on the back. And y'all, another tip, check your lights before you do all the work of putting them in place, because if you don't and the lights don't work, then you are out of luck. A little more of an even distribution of the lights. I'm going to use just a little Velcro dot. You know, they have a soft side and a prickly side. So I'm going to put the soft side down on the corners of this wooden box. And y'all just keep in mind, my videos are for inspiration. Think about how you can do it. If you want to use a different size, you can. Go to Dollar Tree and get a Halloween card. They have beautiful Halloween cards, right? Get a card. Use a card for this instead. It would certainly work. Get your frame there, get your box there, paint it. All right, so I've put the backs on there too, and now I'm just going to squeeze them and press them, and now I can still open the top, and if I wanted to change some things out, I could. Pretty simple, right? So if the lights are out, this is how it's going to look. I think it's cute. So you can see the box a little bit down there, but you could always paint it black. But I'm going to cover it up. I know exactly what I'm going to do here. So we got our skeleton, our witch, our ghost, and our cat, right? Our classics. I'm going to put a little bit of fog in there. I'm going to sort of make this look like a little fog. And it's on the underside. It's going to tuck right in above the lights and cover up that light box. Love it when a project comes together. How simple is that? Anybody can do this project. You can probably use some things you already have around your house to do this and save yourself a lot of money. You can see all the little spooks in there and their little costumes. Now, you see the different lighting effects. This one's another easy one, y'all. So I've got some ribbon, my chippy brush, my antique wax, another one of those banner signs, but you can certainly use a card. This is a recycled piece of, it's like MDF, or it's actually board, but it's more like a piece of paneling. Here are my measurements. You can use something from Dollar Tree. These are little wool, I guess, wool balls. I got these at Dirt Cheap a couple of years ago. Here's that wax, and you can see that the card already looks a little bit old. It's got kind of some shading and aging around the edges. Everything sticks on this double stick tape, y'all. This is just Jot double stick tape. I'm going to use this to attach this down to a backing, and then we're going to attach it down to this board. This is just going to be like a little leaner sign, and I'm going to put a hanger on it in case anybody wants to hang theirs up on their door. I think it's cute, it's not scary, and it's classic, just like the little ghost. I'm going to use this. This is just some black leftover paper that I had. You can use any type of cardstock that you like, or you can use wallpaper. You know, think about how you can use some things you already have. Now I'm going to use this to offset the card or the banner piece. I'm just going to trace it. You can see the pencil shows up nicely on the black, and I am going to carefully cut that out to try to keep my line as straight as possible. Same process here with the tape, and then I am going to tape it down. You could also use tacks to do this. You could also use a dot of hot glue in the corners if you would rather do it that way. But you see how nice that looks with the black behind it? You could certainly skip this step and make it your own. Now the point of this ruler, this wood ruler, is just to use it to quickly get it locked in place there. I will cut off a little piece of that ribbon, put her aside, and then I'm going to use my antiquing wax, and I'm going to go over this board with antiquing wax. Now in a previous life, this board was an Easter project, and it had a pocket on it with flowers in it, and it was really cute. You know, I'm over that, and I'm ready to move on. So I can use this again and save myself a lot of money. I work hard for my money, y'all, and I like to pinch my pennies. This is some of the things that I do, these tips that I give you. These are things that I actually do too. They're not things that I tell you just to kind of, you know, make you happy or make your life easier, or that I'm guessing at. These are things that I actually do too, and I know that they work. For some reason it wouldn't stick with the brush on the edges, so I've just got a little square piece of foam here, and I'm going to use that to go over all of my edges, and then to go over that hole that's up there in the middle. Using what's left in the brush, I didn't add anything extra. I'm using a very feathery light hand over the card to just darken it up just a little bit. I don't want any bright whites, and I do want this to look like it's been around a while. The figures are so cute. Look at those little classic pieces. This part is optional. If you don't like bows, you don't have to do this. I am going to put a ribbon band around this section. You could use leftover cardstock, you could use some decorative paper, you can use raffia, you can use whatever you want if you don't like the ribbon. But I really like this ribbon, and I've had it a while, and I think it's some handmade ribbon. It's had some weird seams in it, like maybe somebody had made it themselves. Now I'm going to dirty this up And I'm going to dirty up the rest of the ribbon that I have that I'm going to use to make the bow, but I don't show that. I thought it was more of a cream color, but next to this card, it looks a little more white, and I don't want that. I want it to continue to look like it's old. So we'll do the same process with my long piece of ribbon, and this is roughly a little over 2 feet of ribbon if I had to guess, but I'm going to cut it down so you won't even need that much. I'm not measuring anything here, and this is the simplest bow that I can show you how to make. Simple, simple. If you need to see it again, pause the video, back it up, and check it out again, because this is an easy bow to make, y'all. I'm just going to use some jute. You can use scrap ribbon, you can use floral wire, you can use a zip tie, whatever you want to use. I'm going to tie it off tightly, and it needs to be, you know, pretty tight, because we're going to have to fluff our bow out, right? There is no wire in this ribbon. It's just a floppy bow, but because it has that stitching on the edges, it does make it a little bit easier to maneuver and keep in place. Gives it a little stoutness, if you will. Okay, so I decided we're going to put this bow right on the top of this hole. I was going to do it on the little side of the ribbon there, but I decided, no, we're going to do it over the top and make a hanger. That way you have some versatility. If you want to use this as a leaner, you can. If you want to use this as a hanging sign for your door, perhaps, you can certainly do that too. I think it would be a cute little idea if you wanted to use some type of project like this to put on your door. If you're having trick-or-treaters, if you're having a little party, if the neighborhood kids are coming by to get you candy. And then I'm going to trim off the excess. That'll keep things from sliding around. I'm forever fluffing bows. Y'all know me. You know me by now. But it really makes a difference, right? I'm going to go to the bottom of where that ribbon is that I have across, and then I'm going to dovetail both of these. You can leave yours long, you can cut it shorter, and again, you can leave the bow off altogether if you would like. But I think it's precious. Just to keep those tails from flopping down over my picture, I'm going to use the tiniest dot of glue to hold the tails in place. I'm going to add 2 of these little orange ones, sort of a orangey yellow, and the other one just a classic orange, for a little extra color at the top. Simple, simple. I know somebody out there is going to be redoing this one, right? Foam block, y'all. Foam block. I'm going to use scraps that I have from fall and from Halloween. Flowers and leaves and greenery. I have frames. You can use either or. I chose the 5x7. These came from Dollar Tree. These I got at Dirt Cheap, and another one of those little banner cards. This is one of those 3-ring packs from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using the medium and the large ring. You're going to take the glass and the backing and the paper out and put a piece of cardboard in there. We need a firm base, and I don't want to worry about glass breaking. We'll cut this in half because I don't need it to be very tall. This is a pool noodle knife. It works good with any foam that I'm using. I like it. See, when you cut it, sometimes it'll cut kind of crooked. Just go ahead and shave that off. We're not looking for perfection here. We're looking for function. So I'm going to shave it down just a little bit with the knife and then show you that if you rub these two together, you can kind of sand it with the other block. Isn't that nice? So I'll use E6000 in a couple of little areas here to hold this in place. And it is not centered, but you'll see what I do. I'm actually going to slide everything over once I get it, when I get foam ready to go on. I'm just playing around now. It looks like a rib cage, don't it? Look at that. And then I'll add a couple little dots here. I don't want to use a lot of hot glue. See how I slid the block over so that it's somewhat in the center. I'm going to put a weight on top to let that E6000 sort of set up, and definitely for the glue to grab. I don't normally recommend that you use hot glue with foam, but I used a very small amount just to hold it. All right, now I'm going to use my biggest frame in the back. I've never done this before, so this is a learning thing here. And instead of pressing too hard because I was slightly bending the bottom, I decided to grab my metal ruler, which came from Dollar Tree. You see how I flattened it out a little bit? I mean, that will work to my advantage when we're gluing it down, but, you know. I'm going to use some of the same thick cardboard that I used to put in the frame as the base. I'm going to cut it into little pieces and just help kind of put some hot glue and shove this underneath to give this frame a little bit more support. because it's round. It's a round piece of metal, and it's really, it can be a booger to get this to work. Y'all, I was on the TEMU app and I saw that they actually have these types of frames. Well, not frames, like a wreath form thing. They have these individually, different sizes, and it comes with a base that you can stand it up on. Can you believe it? And I did all this work before I saw that. Anyway, we'll do the same thing to both sides, add a little more hot glue. I'm going to use floral pins at an angle to push down. It's sort of going to straddle the wreath form. And by all means, if y'all know an easier way to do this, do it your way. Do it the easy way. I'm just showing you how things were coming together as I was doing it. So the biggest ring is going to be in the top third. I'm going to cut it into another section, and this is where we're going to put the medium ring. It'll slip in that notch, and it pretty much wants to stay by itself, so that is fantastic. I'm going to add a little bit of glue. I'm going to go ahead and seal this one back off a tiny bit, y'all, a tiny bit, and then hold it so it will dry. And then I did that here too. Don't worry about the little holes. The heat's going to melt it, so you won't see that though. We're going to cover it up. No worries about that. A little bit of paper on there so I don't burn myself, and it also kind of locks it in so that nothing scoots around. We'll put it aside with a weight and let that dry. And then we're going to cover the base. Now, if you want to use like a Spanish moss, you can do that. If you want to use some type of a felt, you can do that. But I really like the idea of just using my extra pieces of Halloween stuff. So I thought, okay, well, creepy cloth. This is actually a dark gray. It's not a black. I know it's showing black. It works good for this. It's easily kind of manipulated, so I can move it around. I can make it thicker in some sections. I can bend it and squeeze it into smaller areas and sections around the corners. It just works. So I'll use the hot glue, and I'm also going to use my little rubber spatula thing over there to kind of push it down, because with this creepy cloth, there's a lot, it's an open weave, so you can easily burn yourself. You got to be super careful about this. Put your finger protectors on, use your little rubber spatula, whatever you have to do to protect yourself. So I'm just going to press it down and wrap it around. My camera goes out of focus when it is trying to focus what's closer to the lens, so that's why it keeps going out of focus. All right, I'm going to continue around, and when I feel like I have it covered as much as I want it covered, enough coverage, then I'll just go ahead and trim it off, and I'll just go right between the rings here. And this is just another way to kind of cover up all of the pieces that we use to help hold it down onto the frame. I like that this frame has that cork look, and it has little flecks of gold and red and green, and it just looks to me like it would go with that, with the season, you know, that it would just go there. Now that's all the way I want it, perfectly where I want it. Got our lights. Going to pull my tab out. Of course, make sure that your lights work, but you're going to see that my lights work when I glue it down. You can use the mounting tape again, but I'm just going to use a little hot glue because you can do that. Just use it sparingly. You don't want to use a ton. You know, you don't want to do that. So I'm just going to put it down, and then you can just, because we didn't glue all those layers down, you can just overlap it. This is not something that I would sell. Personally, this is something I would keep in my own home because, you know, this was an experiment for me. But I'm very pleased with the way it turned out, and I hope that y'all are too. So I'm going to start around with my wire. I'm going to go round and round and round, trying to keep the loops of it even as I go around this bigger loop in the back. And then I'll also try to do the same thing when I cross over and do the smaller one in the front. See, now it's all the way around. We're down to the next one. I'm going to leave a little space because we're going to use that to attach it to the foam block underneath. And I'll start wrapping it around this one. And y'all, this one string of lights, I don't know how long the string is because I've had these lights for a little while, but it wrapped around both of them, and then I was able to back it halfway back up the smaller ring. So plenty of lights for that. If you're using Dollar Tree lights, you're probably going to need a few packs. I'm using my floral pins, same as before, just to hold things in place. Two things it's going to do is hold my wire in place. It's also going to hold, give a little more structure and hold that creepy cloth in place. So you can see how now this is a dark gray, not a black. Okay, so now I'm just going to lay this over the top. I want to sort of, in my mind, this was like a night sky, right? It's a night sky because the little witch is on the moon. Now I want to give this a little more support. So this is just some extra cardboard that I'm trimming down to fit. I'm using very thin lines of glue to hold this in place rather than using the glue stick because I need this to be in shape quickly. And then I'll make sure that if there are any lines that I'm pressing them out before the glue sets up. I'm going to use a little bit of this orange jute. Use whatever color you have. I just thought that the orange would be good because it's going to match a little bit better to the background in this picture. Happiest of Halloween wishes. And she's a little witch and she looks like she's having a sweet nap and some sweet dreams on the moon. So I'm taking advantage of the holes that were already there from the banner, and I'm just going to tie it around the smaller loop in the middle, and then I'll make some very simple little shoestring ties. Just that's all we're doing, just little shoestring ties. I didn't want to glue it to this metal form because it would probably pop off because it's metal, and I'm going to trim this off. Plus I think the bows give it that little cuteness for the classic Halloween look. Yes. Okay, now don't worry about that hanging off over there. It'll be fixed. This is all part of my working on it, my figuring it out. Because like I said, I've never done this before. And I want you to see what it looks like when you're trying to put a project together. It's definitely, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, what can I do with this? How can I secure this? I made my own pins in case you don't have floral pins. Just out of some floral wire that's a little bit thicker. You can do that, and you can get those pieces of wire at Dollar Tree. Now I will start my arranging. Good thing about this creepy cloth is that because it has such open weave, you can still poke your flowers and everything through it to make an arrangement on your foam block. If you covered this completely in felt, you would have a very hard time getting this through. But you can use an awl or some type of a punch to make the hole for you if you need to do that. Or even a screwdriver. You could use a screwdriver to do that. But this worked out nice, so I do recommend the creepy cloth for something like this. Now I'm just arranging, and I know you can't see every bit of what I'm doing, but I will be showing you between, as I build it up, I will be showing you little looks of what we're doing. Y'all, if y'all are coming by from another channel, if somebody has recommended my videos to you, if you are here for the first time, if I showed up in recommendations, whatever it is that brought you over to my channel today, I want to welcome you here. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos and get some inspiration. I enjoy doing things on a budget. I like to show you how to do things on a budget, and I like to encourage you along the way to make it your own, to do things exactly how it brings you joy. Whatever you like, don't look for accolades from someone else. If it's something that you've made and you love it, then it's perfect. If it's bringing you that joy, then you're doing exactly what your soul needs. And I want to see you, I want to hear you smile in your comment, you know, and I can almost tell when I get comments, the attitude behind it. So I appreciate that. Y'all bring so much positivity here. So the new people are welcomed, and the people who have been following me, I am so very blessed to have you in my life. I thank you so very much, and I hope that you are enjoying this channel. All right, look, y'all. Can't you see this in the middle of a snack table for trick-or-treaters? You could even put something in a huge bowl and stack it up on top like a candle holder or a bucket upside down. Set this on there and put all your candy around in the bottom. Oh my goodness, y'all. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to my channel. I would love to get to know you better in the comments. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything, and give me a thumbs up so I know I'm doing a good job and I can keep bringing you the type of videos that you like to see. Consider these. They don't take a lot of time to do. Nothing was painted, so you didn't have to wait for dry time or anything. And here they are when they are flashing. I've got a little bit of felt that I'm going to be using. I have some of these little beaded picks from Dollar Tree. This is a little pumpkin that came off a string of lights. Some big buttons that I thrifted. Some little bows. These were actually in Christmas stuff. And a cupcake paper. These are just the little liners, and you know, any style you like. I like this print. And my beautiful little
TEMU ornaments. I love getting these from TEMU. Look at all these precious children, ready for trick and treats. And then this gives you an idea of what they all look like. I've got some little ornaments and some of this foam table scatter we can use, and these blocks that I thrifted. So we can do treats, we can do trick, or we can do tricks. And I just thought, let's do tricks because they're little kids, right? It'll be fun. So I'm going to use my sponge brush. I've got some Kelly green paint because it's almost the same color as his little trousers. Some black chalk paint, and I'm also going to use some white. I want to get these blocks to be a little more on the Halloween coloration side. But you know, Halloween has lots of different fun colors, so you could leave your blocks alone. You could also just buy wooden blocks and maybe just stamp or use stickers to put the letters on. That would make it really easy for you. I like the size of these and the weight of them, so I think they're going to work great for this. I'm just pouncing on. I think I put 2 layers on of each one. Let it dry in between. Now you can see here I'm making a mess. It's fairly shallow, and there's some wood that is in between that square on the outside and the letter on the inside. So that has to be cleaned up, but I'll give you a couple of options when we get to that point. So just stay tuned for that. We're going to get it cleaned up. You know, we won't leave it looking too silly. And then I've got some black here that I'm going to dot on. And I really make a mess with this one because I was kind of rushing through this. You know how it is. Kids are hungry. You got to go fix something. It's summertime, y'all. It's summertime. So I'm just going to dot this on just like I did the other ones and make sure that I got my square and my letter the same color. This is like a sanding tool or a sanding pick that I got from TEMU. So if you needed to, you could use a little sanding tool here to get that cleaned up. You could use an emery board to clean it up. You could use, there's just a bunch of ways you could take that paint off. You could use fingernail polish remover, possibly. You know, whichever trick you like, you go ahead and do. But since I had a paint color that was very, very similar to the wood already on the block, I just decided to make my life a little easier. Put on my spectacles, take a small brush, and just get on in there. And this, because the color is so similar, it's just almost going to erase it. So I'll start off closest to the letter and kind of pull the color away from it so that I don't have it messy anywhere. And then I'll spread the paint out a little bit. And instead of just going over where the black is, I'll color the entire inside of that block so it's exactly the same color. Again, you don't have to do this if you don't have this type of block that you're using, but I want to let you know in case you do. This is the process that I used. Real quick, I want to say thank you for stopping by and visiting my channel, whatever brought you here. If you came because I popped up in your recommendations or somebody shared my video or mentioned me in a video, I appreciate your time and that you're here with me today. And yes, it is summertime and I am doing Halloween because it's June-O-Ween, right? Now that all these are dry and my perfect colors that I like, for my choice, of course, use what you like to make it your own. I'm going to go ahead and use some glue and then some hot glue to put these pieces together. I used a little bit too much of that other glue. The name of it is escaping my brain right now. I'm just going to clean that up because you can clean it with water. So I'll clean it up with a Q-tip and then use a damp baby wipe to just clean that off. Then I'll add a little bit more, this time of course trying to use a little bit less, and I'll use some more glue here. You can always just use hot glue if that's your preference, or you can use super glue, or you can use wood glue, whatever you want to use. So much vintage Halloween on this channel, and dark and moody. Oh, there's so much. I've got so many ideas, y'all. I don't want you to miss anything. Once they're glued together, I'm going to use felt on my top and on the bottom, but you could always just go over it with a coat of black paint or, you know, really any color paint that you like. Probably dark would be best if you're using these blocks because that's almost like it's cut into the blocks. It's like engraved, the little figures are. So, you know, if you use something light, you're probably still going to see it. But the felt gives me a great surface to glue onto because we're going to do some pretty things on the top. We're going to put things on here, and I want to be sure that everything sticks and nothing pops off. You never know when you pick something up to dust it off or to move it, if you bump it and then it knocks everything loose. You don't want that to happen. I've simply cut a strip down for the top, and of course we'll do the bottom as well. A little bit of glue, and then I'll put a little glue on the end and lay it flat. Kind of tug it just a little bit to make sure it's nice and flat, and then trim off any of the excess. Because it's that felt fabric, it will stretch a little bit when you pull it, so I'm just going to trim that down, make it nice and neat. And I really like the look of that. Here we are doing the other side, same process. And then once it's ready, this is how it's going to look so far. Don't worry, you can paint the back completely black. I'm going to do the ends in black as well. Very, very easy to do. You could use a marker for this if you want, or you can continue your felt all the way around and patch it together. There's so many ways to do things, right? It doesn't mean because I do it this way that I do it wrong if you do it differently. This is just my way to do it. Then we're going to make sure that everything is dry. Now, these little trees come from Dollar Tree. They're little Halloween trees. I am going to just cut these pieces off. And y'all, this products that you see me using today on this video, they are things that I have had for a while. Now, not the stuff from TEMU, but the stuff from Dollar Tree is from last year, okay? So I have this little LED light. It's got kind of a white light. You twist it on and off, and they actually float. So you could use them like in water for whatever reason you would want to do that. I'm going to paint it with my orange or my pumpkin chalk paint, and I'm also going to paint this pumpkin with that orange too because it just looks very plasticky and it's not going to fit into that aged look that I'm going for. You have to have a pumpkin that's going to open so you can put your candle on the inside, right? Okay, so I'm going to go over this with 2 coats of paint. This is not going to glue the seams together. It just made it easier for me to paint this way. It won't glue the sides together. It's going to pop off fine. We'll let this dry, and I want my white light to be a warmer color. So all you have to do is take a yellow paint that you like. This one, I believe, is Dandelion, I think is the name of it. Or Daffodil, something like that. It's a slightly warm yellow. So I'm using that as the flame for my candle. And there was already a little bit of orange. I put these little blocks on the back, which I painted green. And this is going to be our supports so that they will stand. These are the 3 little ornaments that I've chosen. I know that I want the boy and girl together to be at a party. And I like the idea of a trick-or-treaters being out together and, you know, looking and searching for their goodies. So I'm going to make this pick, which I have just twisted together, and I'll show you in a minute how to do that, to make it look like he's got balloons. Okay, so here's our pumpkin, and I did add brown on the top, and it's completely the look that I was going for. The light is going to be a great warm light. Look at that. Look at that. I love it. Hi, kitty. So nutmeg brown is what I used on the top, 2 coats of that, and I let that dry. I'm going to use my antiquing wax and a small brush, and this is not a stenciling brush, but it's pretty coarse, so that I can push the wax down in all the depressed areas. So all the little nooks and crannies. See that? Don't worry, you're going to see it be a little bit heavy in the beginning, but it gets blended out, so don't worry about that. So if you do that and you get kind of a mess on there, just keep working with it, keep blending it, and you're going to get a good look. So this is easy to do. You could possibly do this with a baby wipe if you wanted to do it with a baby wipe. But the idea is not to make an even stripe. It's to make shadows and depressions to make it stand out. And like I said, give it more of an aged look. You could also use like a satin color paint, but I found that chalk paint really sticks well to a plastic surface. Now I'm rounding the bottoms. You see how I'm kind of bringing it over on the bottoms to make each of these little bumps on the pumpkin stand out and look rounded. And look at him. He looks like he's been cut and sitting on the porch a while, doesn't he? I got my little sponge finger dauber here, and I'm going to go around the edge of my ornaments. Or you can get the little ornaments at Dollar Tree in the packs of several, and just use a marker and draw your own things on there, or you could decoupage on them to make your own little pictures, right? So I'm just going around the edges of it where it's got a little more of a lighter color to give it a little more shading, because we have that on our pumpkin too. And for me, I like to be consistent. I'm not painting the inside because the shininess on the inside is going to help reflect the light that we put in there, and it's going to make it glow so much better. All right, I'll peel the backing off. This is just a little twist light, easy enough to do. And then it'll sit on the ridges on the bottom. All right, now we get to play around and put these in the position that we like. Put my trick-or-treaters on one side and my little party goers on the other side. You know, play around with it before you actually put the glue. Now I've got them looking toward each other like they're, you know, walking down the road together, and they're talking and having a good time. Nobody's saying, I got a rock. Y'all know where that's from, don't you? Okay, now we're going to stand these up together. They're out, and perhaps they're siblings or best friends, and they're having a good time together. Walking on to the next spooky house for a treat. Then we'll put our little party goers over here on this side. And we're really creating two different sceneries piece here. Now I'm trying to basically line the pumpkin up so that it's far enough back that I can still put the front on, and that it's kind of in between the I and the C, since that's the middle of the word. And you can take the top off, put the light on, it's just easy. Now here are the pieces that we cut off of that tree. I'm just going to make another tree, but I'm going to do it smaller. Now we won't use all of it on the tree. I'm just going to pick a few and just make a couple of little sparse branches, so it kind of looks like the kids are walking outside. You could use maybe one of those little Halloween trees, the bottle brush trees that you get from Walmart. That would be very cute. But I don't have my Halloween decorations out yet, so I'm trying to use what I do have pulled out, and I can show you that you got options when you're making things for your crafts, right? You're making your little fun creations. Now I have a tree. It's not too big. It's not going to be too heavy so that it will stand up. And I know that I want it to go back here. And another great point of having those blocks behind those little fellas is that it's going to give you a little more support. You can glue on the bottom and on the side to help hold it in place. Then you can also add touches of glue behind the ornaments to hold the tree up if you have a problem with your tree. So I fanned out my paper. I'm going to fold it just a little, probably a fourth of it I've folded upward, and make a little curved area. This is going to be the dance floor where our little sweet couple over there are at the party. Since I have some more of this branch, I'm going to use that as the base of this to help keep its form and to have something to glue it down onto the felt. And these papers are waxed, so when you use a waxed paper, you really need a little something else to help hold your project, because, you know, the wax will have a tendency to repel the glue, and you might have things popping off, and you don't want that. So I am going to be putting the glue on the little branch part instead to hold it in place. And then you can grab some more blocks, and you can use the blocks in any place you need support as well. So far, this is what we have. We're going to keep going, of course. Of course, you got to have balloons, right? You've got to have balloons at a Halloween party. So, just like when you see, I think when you think about prom and they have balloons on the floor and they fall from the ceiling, well, here are some balloons that have fallen from the ceiling down with our little party goers, and they're having so much fun. And I've just used the little mini ornaments that I like. And then I thought, okay, well, let's do some more green here. So I've got a branch or a stem where I had some florals that I cut off. And I saved these because they're really good for other purposes. I'm going to start off by just adding 2 green and 1 black. And you can get little ornaments at Dollar Tree too. But I get so much of it when I'm thrifting because people just have random amounts and they throw them in there, and I just pick them up. They don't cost much, you know. I'm just going to use my side cutting pliers here to just bend that up so it gives it a little foot that's easier to glue in place. And now I'm going to add an orange little balloon, and I will be adding another one in a moment, but we're going to wrap that all up with some of this just to give it some more oomph, you know, a little more pizzazz. It's this party. It's Halloween. It's a celebration. Everybody's having fun and everybody is in the spooky mood. So I want to make everything fun and attractive and vibrant, right? And I could have just wrapped the entire thing if I wanted to with this, or I could have used it as the base. Either way, it's fine. Adding some glue to the block and beside the block and placing that little foot that I made right down in there. Now, you don't see me holding it in place as long as I do with each of these pieces, but I do hold them for a while until the glue begins to cool, because when it is cool, it has set up. So this is how it is looking so far, and I think this is good. I'm satisfied completely with this, and I love it so much, y'all. Look, I turned the little light on so y'all could see the little pumpkin lit up in the middle. Is this not the cutest, most festive little thing? I made something last year with 3 blocks that says boo, and it was so much fun to make. It's definitely different than this, but it is with blocks and some little ornaments. So yeah, these are fun to make for me. I love working with the little miniatures like this. And of course, I hope that you like it too. So here's the little treat bag I was talking about. It's a little metal jack-o'-lantern bag. We're going to use that pumpkin chalk paint, some Spanish moss paint, flowers that I don't actually end up keeping in the final project, some little doohickeys, little decorative anything, pinwheels, whatever you got that's cute and small that would look festive, some more of these little picks. These are just little pieces of wood. You can cut a ruler, whatever you need for yours. Here's some smaller pieces. Here's another ornament we're going to use, and a little bow that we're going to use for him. I'm going to paint all of these pieces orange. Why am I using these? This is because we need a lid to put all of our decor on for our pumpkin, because we're going to have a light in the bottom, so we have to make sure that it's not sitting on top of the light so we can turn it on and off. I'll use my little jewelry pliers here to remove the wire. It is clean, of course, already, but if you get something thrifted, be sure you clean it. I do cut those little berries off later. I'm going to use some of this hunter green for the stem, and then I'll use some rustic orange for the pumpkin. And I'll take them outside and let them dry. So this is what I'm going to do here. This is not necessary if you have something in yours already, but for me, I need to have a little top, something that is a platform between the light section and the decor on the top. So this is how you do that. These were thrifted. You can see they're part of a little, I guess, mathematics set for kids. But you never know when you can use these things, y'all. So now I have the little platform and the little side. I went ahead and used my pliers and cut off the orange and white bow that the cat had on, because I want to put a fabric bow. Oh, isn't he going to be cute? I'm going to take the little scissors here and just trim that off smaller. I want those tails to be about the same width as my bow loops, just my preference. You can certainly have one that has tails hanging all the way down if you want. I'm sure a kitty cat would love playing with the little tails hanging down. I'll add just a little glue there and pop that bow on where his collar is. Cute, cute, cute. Where are my black kitty fans? So now this has to be able to stay on the top. These little pieces are going to be the, I don't know if you would call them a cleat or a side support to hold the piece up. I'm using Gorilla Glue here. Super glue would work the best, some type of a long-term hold, but this is going to work for me to show you how to do it. I put the top on so I would know how far to put this down. All this really needs to do is keep the lid from collapsing onto the inside of it. It works. You can see there. Now I have a top. Doesn't need to fit perfectly. It just needs to be that divider. So I've got another brush, and I am going to pounce on some of that color on top of this darker green. You can leave your ivy dark green if you want to, but I was more along the lines of thinking that I wanted these to be leaves, not ivy. So I'm lightening them up, and I am also going to be giving them some dimension with a little of that orange paint so that they look like fall leaves. You could certainly use, if you have like a little container that you're using, like a little jack-o'-lantern, a little pumpkin, you could get some wine, well, you could do that too while you're crafting. You can get some of that metal line or the, like the wire that you put around it, and then put your own swirly top on yours. You could make something different if you don't have the same thing. Because most likely we don't when they're thrifted pieces, right? But y'all know, oh my goodness, y'all are learning so much. So much. I hear so many people say that they've done it or they've copied a project, but they've done something different with it. And that's the idea. Always make it your own. I definitely do not expect any of y'all to spend the money on crafting and keep everything you make. That's not what I do. And I don't want you to feel the pressure to have to do that either. Just take something, take what you have, make it your own, right? It's going to be perfect. It's going to be perfect, y'all. Now we need to make some fun pics to go on there. You can add a little bit of something on the back to hold it in place if you need to. I'm just making some things that almost look like suckers because the bag looks like a treat bag. So I'm thinking, okay, well, we'll make some things that kind of resemble candy. Now, once that is dried, you see me going over with another brush. This is a little flat brush, and I'm just going around each of the tips of the leaf, and then I'll just kind of swipe it down the middle. And you can go over the veining if you want to. However you want to do your piece is totally fine. Now you know me. I've got to age it up. I've got to get that wax and really give it some age. So I'm going around the places where this would rust and just pouncing it on there. This is like a stencil type brush, and it came from Dollar Tree. It sure did. It's been a while now since I got it, but it works good for these types of projects. It's really good for kind of using it for aging. Now once I lay the paint or the wax down, I can blend it out by just flicking that brush back and forth, and that helps kind of fade it, and it takes the sharpness out of it. Gives it a nice aged look. See that? So much better. But we need to be sure that we go around the rest of the face very lightly. Very, very lightly. I love it. I love it already. When the layers of paint have dried on the leaves and vines here, I'm going to go over that with a little too because we want to be consistent. I'm going to cut those berries off because I don't need them for this project. I'm going to add something of my own. Then I'm going to reattach the handle that goes across the top. And I made sure that I didn't glue those little wood tabs in the way of those holes. They should be under there instead of on top. Underneath, so nothing's in the way. And then just to show you that everything still fits together just fine. There we go. It's fine. You'll want to be sure that when you put your pieces on top of your project, that you don't put too much that's going to expand outside of the borders of the top that you've created, because if you do, it's going to be difficult to remove and replace the top once you have things on it. So just kind of be cautious and mindful of your spacing. Now I'm going to use little blocks here, and y'all, the little wood blocks that I use for support, they come from Dollar Tree in the Crafter Square section. Okay, I'm going to add my glue here. I can paint these black, but again, y'all know when I get going with the craft, I'm just going with the flow. You can fix that later, or we can cover it up. We're just going to keep going until I figure out how I want them to look. Now, I guess I could poke things down in the side instead of gluing it, but no, I'm going to glue it because I want it to be sure it stays in place. So I'm just going to bend this piece in half. These picks that I have added on here are actually floral stems that come in a bag, and they're almost have like a papery outside, so it clings to the glue pretty well. Now going on the side of that block, I can add my little sucker. I wonder what flavor this would be with the bow on it. Would that be a black licorice sucker? Black cherry maybe? Who knows? And then this one, and I will add it against one of the blocks too. That way I've got some good support for it. Just making sure that my height is correct. I want a bunch of different levels. I want some low, some high, everything to get a little bit of attention without obscuring anything else. I'm just really not loving the flower. That's why I didn't show y'all how I put it in there. It is just too big for the piece, so I'm going to take that off. Don't worry, don't worry. I'll take a little bit of this orange twine and I'm just going to wrap it around. The twine is going to help me out because instead of sticking metal to metal, I can actually put the fabric against, look how what a mess I made. I can actually put the fabric against the metal to help hold it in place. And glue it and then press it down. And you can also, I could also actually have tucked it inside of the little spiral that's going around that's supposed to be the vine. And I actually do that on the other side. So I used a black and 2 oranges on one side and an orange and 2 black on the other side. And you can see just how I've twisted it together with one stem. I wrapped it as well. I'm going to feed it through the stem, prop it up there, and then add a little bit of glue to hold that one in place. And these look like little pieces to me of like orange and black bubble gum. So now I'm fluffing out these little branches and I'm going to use that like a tinsel. And I'm going to wrap it all around where I took the time to paint. Yeah, I'm going to wrap it all around. You know how it is when you start on a project and you're not really sure. You have an idea, but the details are not there yet. That's how it is with me a lot of times. So you see me put stuff on and take stuff off. That's what I'll be doing here because I had to have this on there. I just needed it on there. And the flower just looks redonkulous. So she's going bye-bye. We're 86 in the polka dot flower. Although she will be in another project, so I do like it. I'm going to use a little bit. I just folded it so that it would fit. Again, we don't want anything extending too far out because it will interfere with us trying to put the lid back on. Then you can cut these again to get the pieces you want, make little circles, whatever, to make it fluffy. And then I'll add enough to cover that. I'm going to put something right there in the front. These are little bells that I got from TEMU. Here's that information. I'm going to cut the top off of one of those ornaments to make a flat bottom. And then we will attach that bell as like a top, and the ornament will be the bottom part that we glue down. I'm going to add some glue. I'm going to add the ornament. I was trying to decide which end is going to be flatter to stand up. So I just went ahead and used it this way. If you hold it long enough, it's going to sit up and do fine. But you can use super glue if you want it to be long term. Now here I go with my matchy-matchy. I've got to paint him because he's a different color orange, which is a beautiful orange. But he's not jiving with my other oranges. So personal preference, I'm just going to fix it. So now his whole body is the same color. He can be aged as well, but I didn't even bother aging him because I kind of want him to look like he's candy. I kind of wanted it to look like candy, like maybe, you know how at Easter you get the little bunnies? So I thought, well, a little pumpkin man would be cool, like chocolate, a little pumpkin man. And look how his little mouth is askew. He's not even totally straight there. Then I added a little black bow to him. Cute, cute. He needs a hat. So guess what I got? I had to throw my rustic in there, right? An acorn. This is an acorn top, and I made him a little hat. I could definitely have painted it, but wait, that's not all. We're going to add a little ball to the top. He's going to be super cute with his little sparkly orange poof pom-pom ball on top of his hat. Look at that. Suddenly he's a French pumpkin candy. Taking the flower out. Definitely taking that flower out. And because those little leaves are on wire, I can move those around so that they can be seen. And that's what I did. I kind of repositioned them a little bit. Show you that I got my lid on. Now I can decide what I want to do to make sure I still have the right spacing to get the lid on and off. I decided to go ahead and add some more of those little pieces. Oh my goodness. These are so cute. I don't know why these types of little projects make my heart so happy. They really do. They make me so happy. So I've turned it around. I'm on the back end of it, and I'm going to put something low, but something that will fill in space. So I'm taking another ornament, a little bunch of black and white. It's actually like what you put in a gift, the little shredded papers. add a couple little more things in the back that are low so I can move it back and forth. Just another little sparkly pom-pom. And y'all look at it all lit up. Oh, my heart. Oh my goodness. I love this. I love it so much. You know, I pounced it around so you can still see some brightness in there. You can see the difference in the color. It's very subtle. But he looks so darn cute.
So I've got some black blocks here, but if you don't have any of these, you can use these from Dollar Tree and paint them black, just the little dice. These are the 3 ornaments that I chose to use for this project. I have some little wood blocks and some black chalk paint. I'm going to use some of this is painter's tape, and I'm going to roll it over and put it down on my mat here, my little silicone mat, and I'm going to press these down to hold them in place while I paint them. I always have paint all over myself, y'all know that. Always, always. Doesn't bother me though. I just wash it off. Once everything is dry, I do leave one side that is not painted to put downward. I'm going to push these about 1/4 of an inch back from the edge of the block. So 1/4 inch back for each one of these. So center and 1/4 inch. Got it? Now we can start placing these down. For 2 of these, we're going to leave it just like this. Stand them up there. Allow them to dry. Here's the other one with the little cutie pie on it. This is probably my favorite one. And then for the one with the cat, we're going to turn it backwards so that it is placed further in the back. And you'll see why in a moment. Okay, so we'll put that one in the middle. All right. Now, I am going to use some of these Scrabble blocks, but you can use anything. You can use stickers. You can paint this on. You can use puff paint, whatever you want to use here. But I'm going to use these because I think they look good with this. And spell out boo. And I'm trying to just sort of get them in the center. If they're not perfect, you know I don't care. All right, now this is why you wanted to do that. Now when you put them together, look! I think these are really adorable together. They are vintage yet playful. All right, I got 2 pieces of foam. You can use a pool noodle. I've got a candy corn pick, and I got some of these little pomegranate picks. This I recently got from my friend Miss Linda. This is a TEMU pick. You can spray paint just a regular pick. These are from Walmart. I used them on my Halloween tree. They're dahlias. And then there are some with little roses, I think, that have a little glitter on them. This is from TEMU, from a banner pack. Love the little vintage look. We're going to use a round from Dollar Tree. It does not matter which one. And I thrifted this candy corn hat. But you can use any which hat you want to use for this. You can see here the measurements of this hat, just to give you an idea. This is the thought part of my process. I'm like, what are we going to do here? We're going to cut this bow off for one thing because that's going to be hidden, so we may as well remove it. That will go into a scrap pile somewhere. It's going to need something to give it some body though, so that it stays up nice and taut. Well, I've got some batting that I recently thrifted, and this is thanks to my friend Cindy, who already had it in her basket and decided not to get it. So she asked me did I want it, and I grabbed it, and this is perfect for this. So this is actually like a quilt batting, but you can use this like pillow stuffing. Just shred it up. Just shred it. It's pretty much the same thing, I do believe. And then stuff it into the hat. Now be careful when you're stuffing hats because you want it to keep the natural shape of the hat. You don't want a bunch of lumps and bumps in there because it looks, to me it looks cheap and like you just didn't want to put in the effort. So let's just take the extra effort and let's do it neatly, y'all. You're all capable of it. Yes, you are. I believe in my folks. I believe in y'all. Yes, I do. And I want to say thank you too while we're on the subject. You know you're special and important and valued every day. Yes, I'm always sending positive energy and love and prayers your way. Now, once it is stuffed and the shape is exactly how I like it, this is going to be a base. So that's why I said it doesn't matter which one you choose. And this was actually a little bit smaller than what I needed, but it worked out perfectly. So I'm going to add a good bit of glue, and I'm working quickly so my glue does not dry before I stick it down. And then I'm going to try to center it. Not exactly center, but you're not ever going to notice that. And I'm going to press it down quickly into that glue. And I also will press it away from the inside outward, and then where it is not sticking, I'm going to go in and press that down and away. This is just a felt hat. And I still love candy corn, y'all. There's just something that screams fall and Halloween and candy corn. I don't know. Maybe it's my age. You can use a pool noodle or a thin piece. This actually came out of the middle of some prints that I got from TEMU. That's where it came from. But I'm going to use this to go around to make something to put our florals in. So I've just cut a piece of, I have 2 pieces of the foam. I have cut a piece of floral scraps that I had to make the little wire to go in the middle. That's just to help it keep its shape. And then I'm going to add some tape around the joints so that nothing comes apart. Okay, and to continue that shape around, because I want it to be round like a hat band, I'm going to go back in with the wire, put that there. It helps hold it too while I'm putting on my tape. I'm going to line those ends up so I get a nice round shape, and then I'll go over it with the tape. Now I'm going to use as much tape as I need, but try not to go out too far. This is painter's tape, by the way. I'm trying not to go out too far because I don't want it to interfere with where I might need to place my florals, and you'll see what I mean shortly. So now my hat band is going to fit. I'll take some of my mounting tape, or you can call it nano tape, alien tape. It's like a gel type tape that's sticky on both sides. And I'm going to use this to stick down this to my hat so nothing comes loose. You do not want to use hot glue, because hot glue will melt and deform it's almost like a little wreath form that you're making. So you don't want that to happen. But you can use super glue or E6000, but you'll have to wait for it to dry first. This is a really quick way to do it. Okay, so once that is done, I'm going to take this beautiful curly orangey ombre raffia, and I'm going to separate it into 3 sections because we're going to make a braid to go around, so like a braided hat band. I'm just using my pliers to hold it in place, but you can tape it to the table or clamp it to your table, and you're just going to do a braid. If you don't know how to do a braid, I'm going to do this slowly so you can get an idea. I braid all the time, not necessarily in crafting, but you know, I braided my daughter's hair, my oldest daughter's hair. I used to do it a lot more often when she was in nursing school, but now that she is a big girl nurse, she wears it in a bun most of the time. You know, you got to keep it clean, got to keep everything nice and fresh. So I'm going to continue along here and braid this as far down as I can until it meets back around to where I started. We're going to trim up all those little wild hairs, so don't worry about that. Now I'm just going to use a zip tie, but you can use a wire, whatever else you want to use to end the braid. I'm going to do that tightly, trim it off. And then we're going to leave the end on there. We're going to leave that curly stuff hanging off there. I like it. I think it's cute and festive. We're going to use floral pins to attach this down to this foam ring around the middle. Just press it right into there, and that's going to hold that braid into place because, again, hot glue is going to melt our little wreath form that we created, so we don't want that. You could probably use long straight pins, hat pins for this if you wanted to. I'm going to go all the way around and leave all of these little curly curlies on the back. I'll grab my scissors and trim off the crazy ones. Love it. Now I'm going to be assembling this while it is sitting down on my table, so you're going to see it from above. But in between, I'm going to show you each of the things that I have done, you know, basically, and you'll be able to see what's going on. So I'm measuring to see how tall I need this to be because I want this to be a little pick or sign to go on this hat. I'm going to cut it at a slant just because a slant will pierce into the foam a lot easier. I'll take a piece of black paper and I'm going to cut that down so that there's almost a border or it's offset. Do you see what I mean? Really highlights the picture. I really like that, almost like a frame. I'll go down the middle with 2 stripes of hot glue, or you can do a little squiggle, whatever you like, just to get my pick in place, and I'll put it down and then roll it slightly so it covers the entire piece of wood pick. And then I'm going to just quickly add a little bit of glue here and sandwich that stick right in between. So the backing acts as a cover for that stick, and it also gives us a beautiful trim and finish. You can round your edges off if you would like to do that as well, since the picture there also has rounded edges. Is that not the cutest little kid? I think that's a little boy, and he is just precious. So I am just going to start by adding the black pick in. This has a very sharp wire in it, and I did cut it, so it will pierce through the tape very easily. But the thicker pieces are not going to want to go through the tape as smoothly as this does. Once I get the right placement for it, I can start adding in my beautiful dahlias. And I'm going to use the orange dahlias rather than the black. And I have them cut in 3 different lengths. So they'll be tall, medium, and short. And I'll do the tallest, then I'll put the medium beside it in the back. And I will cut the shortest one and put it right here in the front. Doing things in 3s is a good rule. Behind that pick, I'm going to put a tall dahlia. Here's the look so far. I'll cut the pomegranate into little pieces where they're on each stem, and I will add those here and there as well. Have them peeking out. I love that they're orange and yellow. I think it looks good with the candy corn theme. Now, let's talk while we decorate. What if you have a black hat and that's all you have? Well, then go ahead and go with that. Use your black hat. What can you do that's black? Maybe you could add some beautiful purple flowers. Maybe your hat is gray and you want to do red. You know, whatever you choose, just roll with it. Make it your own. Always make it your own. Now, you know I couldn't pass up putting a beautiful sunflower in here. And besides, candy corn theme, we got to have yellow and orange and white. And then, of course, we got to have black because it's Halloween. Look at this so far, y'all. So cute. This is so cute. This would be so nice as a party. You know, if you had a party to put on your table. I think this is just adorable. But I was inspired. I was inspired by this little banner piece and by this hat. This would be gorgeous just as a centerpiece on your table or at the end of your bar. You know, just for you. Heck, put it in your room. Put it on your side table. Whatever. You do you, right? The leaves that I'm picking are scraps. All of the leaves and greenery that I'm putting in there, except for the black ones that we add in the end, all of those are scraps that I have had left from fall, and I save all that stuff. I have these pieces, and they're a little sort of a cream sort of color, maybe like a little faded color, but they look great with the yellow. It helps offset the orange, break it up just a bit. So I'm just going to add pieces here and there. Some of the little pieces have little berries and some do not. And I really just want to make sure that I cover up my piece there. If you are concerned and you're using, say you're using the black hat and you have your white ring around it, well, paint it black. Paint that black, it'll blend in better and you won't know if there's a gap in there somewhere, you know? You can really cover it up. Now I had to add these black leaves to something. I had to add them to something. And these came also from Dollar Tree. Yes, these were from Dollar Tree. I was going to add them into my swag, but I decided no, it wasn't the look I was going for. So we're adding them in here, and it just makes it look so festive. But again, make it your own, however you like to do it. I'm always doing my best to bring y'all the most budget-friendly versions of what I can bring you. And is everything exactly on a dime budget? This is so cute. This is easy. Y'all, this is a beginner craft. This is a piece of scrap wood sanded. I'm going to use antique wax and I'm going to use oatmeal chalk paint, a brush and a chippy brush, some detail scissors, and another piece of that banner that I got from TEMU. Okay, I liked the color of this oatmeal with this, so that's why I'm using it. I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to make sure I leave the shadow in there. I don't want to cut that off because I want her to have that dimension. And look at her little kitty and that adorably vintage jack-o'-lantern pumpkin bucket. I wish I had one of those now. Sometimes just talking to y'all gets me inspired. Okay, so we're going to put her to the side and we're going to get this block painted. I'm going to go all over the front, the sides, top, bottom, but not the back. No need to paint the back, right? No one's going to see that. This is sort of like a sign. I say block because it's a block of wood, but it's going to be like a freestanding sign because I sanded it nice and flat. Okay, I'm going to take a finger dauber and some antiquing wax. So I'm going all around my edges. This just gives it a more defined edge where you don't see the white from the paper. Makes her just kind of pop, and I really like that look. I'll take that chippy brush I mentioned with some antiquing wax. I'm going to tap it pretty well, and it kind of pushes that wax or paint, whatever you're using, up into the bristles. And I like that look. We're going to dirty this thing up, make it look like it's old. And don't worry, if you get too much on here, you can go back and wipe it with a baby wipe or a damp paper towel. As baby wipes are just thicker, and they don't shred when you try to use them. You know, they don't leave all that lint. So that's why I choose baby wipes, for those of you who are wondering why I use the baby wipes. So now this is really going to make those edges pop. It's really going to bring those out and make this wood look like it is very old. And you got to have that in a vintage piece, just, you know, to me, in my mind. I want to get that other side just a little bit darker. I'm not going all the way into the center because I'm going to be gluing her down, and I don't want that wax to repel the glue and then she peels off. We don't want that to happen. I don't want to use hot glue because it will leave little bumps underneath the picture, and I don't want to do that either. So that's why I'm using this. You can use school glue or Mod Podge for this for sure. I just, like I said, always want to bring out options. Always want to bring you options. And you can find this glue on sale after back to school all the time. Really good deals. I'm going to push her into place, and I'm just going to use my little Cricut tool here to go over and make sure that I get her squished down. Now the glue that's purple is going to fade just like it did on the ribbon, and this way everything comes out nice and clean. I just like to wipe it off, you know, so it doesn't mess anything up. Make a little sticky lump. This is how she's looking so far. See, it'll stand up perfectly. You could put her on a tall tiered tray. You can put her on the fireplace. You can put her on a table. You can give her as a gift for your office mate. Anything. Just to bring some of that shine down, I'm going to go over her with the remainder of what's in that brush. I'm not adding anything because I don't want to muddy the picture. I just want to bring a little bit of that shine down and make the piece look like one piece. And this is how this little beauty's going to look. She's precious. Y'all, she's a ginger. She's so cute. I have a niece who's a ginger, and I absolutely love her. She's so adorable. Oh, my goodness. Look at this little babe. For as cheap that I'm showing you how to make it, you're just not going to find it. Even something like this with a scrap piece of wood, I paid for that banner $3, and there are probably 12 pieces that came with it. So that is so inexpensive. Already had the paints, already had all that here. You know, I already had the greenery for this. It was in my craft stash. I used it on my tree. I already had the TEMU pick. I already had the candy corn picks from last year. Use your imagination and think of what you can do to make it your own. I'm going to use some pumpkin chalk paint, black chalk paint, a cutting tool, and some paint brushes, of course. I'm going to use some Mod Podge. I'm just going to use satin today. And then some of these ornaments from TEMU, like you saw in another video. Love these. And these are the 3 I chose. And then we're going to choose some fabric that's going to coordinate with our pieces. And I like this one with the polka dots. Okay, so here's the information on the fabric. I got this while thrifting. We're going to lay this out and cut off a piece that is going to fit on the inside. It's going to be a little bigger than the inside. Don't try to cut it in an exact piece. We're going to fix that later. All right, now we can start painting this little box. Now this is a piece that I thrifted. It had a lid with it and no hinges, no screws. It was just like, I guess, a DIY kind of thing. But it looks a little bit like a pumpkin to me, flat on the bottom, or maybe the moon, you know, kind of. I thought this would be really cute for Halloween, and so we're going to go with it. I'm just going to paint the inside of this. Don't have to paint the bottom. That's not necessary because the fabric will be there. We're going to go all over the inside with this pumpkin orange chalk paint. You can use any chalk paint you like. I'm only going to use 1 coat because, you know, that's the beauty of chalk paint. Good coverage. Now I'm going to grab a little sponge brush and go around the lip of this piece all the way around. You can choose any colors you like. But I think these are really good for Halloween. And, you know, it's pretty simple. It's going to be a pretty simple look. You can do this with a brush if you trust yourself, but because this is flat and I'm barely grabbing any paint to put on there, it keeps it from bleeding over onto the inside of the box. The outside really won't matter because we're going to paint that black as well. You can see where the little hinge spots are where you would put your hinges. I used the top for another project. Okay, so now we're going to do the outside, and I'm just going to put a coat of that black paint. I believe that's rich black. It doesn't really matter. Just black will work. And if you don't have chalk paint, you can go to Dollar Tree and get some of the chalkboard paint. I've had very good results from that. So we're going to let it dry, and then I'm going to go all over the inside with a layer of Mod Podge. Going to make it a nice even layer. And then I'm going to put that fabric on top and press it into this little piece. I'm going to tuck it all around, just pushing with my fingers up against the corner where the walls meet the back. All the way around. Just tucking, tucking, tucking. And then I'll get a little squeegee and flatten this all out. Make sure that I am getting it as close as possible up there because it's going to give us a nice clean finish between the painted surface and the fabric that we are putting on here. If you don't have a decoupage medium like the Mod Podge that I'm using, you can use school glue for this. Any way that you want to attach this down to the back that works for you in the past, you can use that technique here. Just because I do it this way does not mean you have to. Remember, I always encourage you to make it your own on this channel. Now once I get that layer down, I'm not even going to let it dry. I'm going to go right back in there with a brush. Make sure all of my pieces up into the corner are even pressed down. The idea is to not only keep this in place, but to make the edges of this where it meets the sides of the box in the back thick enough that it's going to be easy to slice through. So we're going to make it, actually change it till it's almost like a papery type consistency of the fabric. If you've ever done decoupaging before, you'll know what I mean. You'll understand what I mean by that. But just trust the process. And you're going to go all the way around with a nice even coat. And that's what I'm doing. Just making sure everything's nice and even. And allow that to dry. I just let mine dry overnight while I went on to other things. Now I'm going to put that blade right into the corner where the back meets the sides. All the way around, and then you can just pull that off, and you can see that the texture of the fabric is more it's more thick, and look what a nice edge that gives. Love that, love that. So now I've just got, I had a bag of these little letters, and I'm going to take these Scrabble letters and I'm going to make some words to use. So you can use any Halloween words that you like. You can do spooky or Halloween or Hallows Eve, whatever you want to use. Now what you see me doing here is showing the difference between the dimensions when you add some type of a riser behind it. It could be a foam block, it could be the little blocks from Dollar Tree. You can see the shadow around it. And that's what I'm going for. I want these to be a little different and a little varied. These are just things that make your pieces stand out and be a little different. So I thought about putting Halloween on the inside, and they would just be up against the surface, you know, tucked up against the wall here in the back. But I think I want to do it here. So I'll start with the center letter in the word Halloween, and that's going to be the O. And I'll center it on the top of the box just by eyeballing it, because you know I'm not doing the numbers over here. No measuring for me. These are handcrafted things. I'm not going to be precise, right? So, you know, keep tacking it down, and I'll just work from middle outward. If you like what's going on this channel right now, I would love it if you would give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I would love it if you would be part of our family, but only do it if you like what's going on over here, right? That's right. Make it worth your while. So I'll just continue to work around until I get these all the same. Now I'll use my finger on the back of these tiles to get them about the same height going all the way around so that they look, you know, fairly even. And I love that. It looks like a little stage for a play, doesn't it? I think that's really cute.
Now you can go along the back here and add a little more glue if you would like, this to make sure that they're a little more secure because they're only stuck down by that little bit that we put on the back. So that will work here, or you could use some type of a super glue if you want to do it that way. I think that's cute. Now this is just a block that I have. Pick all this kind of stuff up when I see it in the thrift store, but these actually came originally from Target and I got them at a store called Dirt Cheap. So they were probably 50 cents. Now I'm going to add these on here. This is going to give us some dimension, and the one in the center is actually going to be the place where we house the light control, because yes, we're going to have lights in here, y'all. I have had lots of happy comments from people saying they love the light up projects, so we're going to be doing another one here. It's just playful, right? It's playful. It gives some dimension. It just gives a little more, keeps it from being so flat. You know, it's unexpected. But you don't have to put lights in yours. Just use mine for inspiration, because you might not even have the box that I have. You can use a square box for this. You can use a Dollar Tree frame for this. You know, it's fine. You can do this any way that you like it. Just grab the inspiration that I'm putting out there for you and make something that's going to bring you some joy. Now this beaded garland came from Dollar Tree. We could use it on the inside of the box. So I'm just, you know, I'm going to be giving you a bunch of ideas here. I think I like it on the inside. So I'm going to cut off my tassel. And I can actually use the tassel for something else. I will retie the knot on the end so that nothing comes off, because otherwise beads are going to go flying all over the place. And it's easier to apply these in a strand on a rope like this than it would be to do bead by bead. You're saving yourself some time and energy. So a little extra glue on there to hold the knot in place and make sure everything is secure. And then we can start putting that down. Just cutting off my excess. We want it to look neat, right? And then I will check and see that I have the right amount in here, and then I will cut that off. I cut it close to the table so the beads that fall off will just fall onto the table. And mine stayed together, surprise, surprise. So I'll tie another knot here. And if you can't tie a knot that small, it's fine. Just use glue. Just use the glue and hold it in place. But I put my knot, tuck it in there, add some glue. Now I have a short strand that's going to fit perfectly around the edges. Now, for the lights, I'm going to take this string of fairy lights that I have, and I'm going to wrap them around and around this strand of beads. I'm just going to go round and around, and it is so long, this strand, that it actually goes around here twice. So I really got a lot, for a strand of fairy lights, I got a lot of lights, a lot of coverage. And you know, I use thrifted items, I use Dollar Tree items, I use all that. So I've glued the little light box on the back, and it's behind the head. It fits perfectly. We're going to be able to hide it because we're going to paint it black. This is how that's going to look. The strand of lights does have two different flashing modes and then a solid mode, but I rarely use the flash. And then a little bit of hot glue to glue it down. Then I decided, okay, well, what about putting some more of this tree on there? Now, this is a Dollar Tree Halloween tree. All I'm doing is cutting this off to make it more like a garland. You can form this together to make almost like a little halo and then put it down in there, or you can just glue the pieces down. But it just shows you that there are so many different ways to do it, right? This is going to help cover up that gray on there. You can still see the beads for those of you who are concerned. If you don't want to use the beads, don't use the beads. Use garland and just wrap your lights around there, or layer them however you like it. Now I'm grabbing that black chalk paint and I'm going over the light box that is on the back behind that little ornament. You know, think about those Scrabble pieces, and you could actually take a little bit of orange paint, water it down, and make a stain for those if you wanted something a little more colorful instead of using the plain brown Scrabble pieces. But I like that. I don't have a problem with that. So, you know, I prefer things that are rustic anyway, so this works for me. But you do what your heart desires. Now we're going to find placements for our little girls, or our little girl and boy, or whatever, our little trick-or-treaters. They're cute, they're in their little costumes, they're all little pumpkins in here.
So I'm just going to add my glue in my different heights on the backs of these little babies. Aren't they adorable? Press those into place, kind of at a little bit of an angle. They're not straight up and down. I'm going to check it out and see what else we need to do on this piece. So I'm going to grab some ornaments. I am recycling some of these from other projects. You can get these little ornaments from Dollar Tree if you are looking for some. You could also use table scatter from Dollar Tree if you can find something in the colors that you're looking for. You could definitely do that. And I'm pretty sure at Halloween, I haven't been to the store this year, but I'm pretty sure at Halloween they have color coordinated to the holidays or the seasons. So you could find something that you like. And I'm just, right now, I'll add the ornaments down and then I'll look at where else do I want to put these? How else do I want to build this up on the bottom? Almost like they're little balloons, you know, kind of like in the other set that I did with these ornaments. It's another video. I'll link that for you. I used them like balloons and I think that's so cute. It's just another way to use your pieces, because sometimes we buy things and we never use it because we can't think of how we could use it, but we have it available. Grab that stuff and use it. Look, I've got this little thing of pom-poms with little, kind of like little sparkles on it, and I thought, well, let's add that. We've got yellow in here, so let's just add some of that. So now I'm just adding a little bit here and there, just kind of bringing the design up. And I decided I'm going to add Boo right on the inside. So maybe they're at the party, and this is a little banner that's hanging on the wall. How cute. So now I've got Boo in there. But you could do spooky or scary or whatever Halloween words you can think of that makes you happy or that kind of fits your scenery. I love this. Oh, and I love bringing it to you. I love showing y'all something new and different. Look how precious. I hope y'all love this as much as I do, because I really, really love this piece. I couldn't wait to bring it to y'all. And here it is lit up.